sellout crowd in St. Louis. Better than 65,000 on hand as the Rams begin their second season here against one of the up-and-coming teams in the AFC, the Cincinnati Bengals, as we kick off 96. And hi, everybody. I'm Dan Hicks, and it's a pleasure to welcome to our NFL on NBC broadcast booth Bart Oates, who was no stranger to the New York Giants. 9 years with the Giants, where he won a couple of Super Bowl rings, and he just finished out his last couple of seasons with the San Francisco 49ers, Bart, and you made the Pro Bowl your last 2 seasons in the league, so I'm a little surprised that you retired.
I'll tell you, Dan, it's a pleasure to be here with you. I was down on the field a little bit earlier. I lost a couple of pounds, about 40 pounds. I saw the size of those guys. I think they found it. It's great to be up here and not down there.
All right, you start off with a great look at a couple of running backs. In fact, the premier running backs in the NFL draft the last 2 years. Let's first start with Lawrence Phillips of the Rams, the number 6 pick overall out of Nebraska.
Well, many people considered Lawrence to be the best player in the draft last year. He went down to the 6th spot. The Rams think they got the best player in the draft, albeit he has some off-the-field problems that allowed him to get to the number 6 spot. So we'll see how he does today and for the rest of the season.
And then Kajana Carter, the number 1 pick overall in the NFL last year, blew out his knee in the preseason, so he's waited a long time to make his NFL debut.
Well, as we talked to him yesterday, he's very excited to play. He's excited to go 4 quarters. We'll see if he's got the stamina to do that.
Pretty scary when you add Kajana Carter to an offense that already boasts Jeff Blake and Carl Pickens, the most prolific touchdown duo the last 2 years in the NFL.
You've got 2 excellent players right there at those skill positions. They have a great rapport on the field. Jeff Blake is known as one of the best deep throwers in the game. Carl Pickens likes to go get it.
7-9, the Bengals and the Rams went last year. They've added a lot of free agents, and they definitely have playoff aspirations in 96. We'll have the kickoff, the opener in St. Louis between the Rams and the Bengals in just a moment. Well, welcome back to St. Louis. It won't take this crowd long to get the first look at Lawrence Phillips back to receive, but it'll be Johnny Thomas receiving the Lee Johnson kickoff, and good coverage by the Bengals as Thomas is brought down at about the 17-yard line. And that is where the Rams will open up their very first series. Steve Walsh, the quarterback, his first start since December of '94. And up front for him will be Mike Grudadoria. He has never played in an NFL game. He's a free agent out of Central Florida. The regular center, Bernd Brostek, moves over to left guard. And joining Phillips in the backfield, Derek Harris. The Rams beginning the season with 2 rookie starting running backs for the first time in their 56-year history. The great Isaac Bruce, who had a prolific season last year, one of the wideouts. And the first carry goes to Lawrence Phillips, and he bowls his way across the 20-yard line. So Lawrence Phillips begins his NFL season with a pretty good carry. And setting the Cincinnati defense up front, anchored by Dan Wilkinson, the number 1 pick in the NFL. A couple of years ago, John Copeland led the Bengals with a career-high 9 sacks last year. Tovar is the stalwart in the middle. He's led the Bengals in tackles the last 2 years. And Spencer, Orlando, and Ambrose try to strengthen that Bengals defensive secondary. And Lawrence Phillips has the first down. The ball is on the carpet, and it's recovered at the 30-yard line. We'll see who made the recovery. Francis indicating the Bengals have it. And the indication official now. So Lawrence Phillips, after 2 good games to begin his NFL career, fumbles on the second handoff.
Yeah, Dan, here he is. He has an open spot. He makes a nice cut there on the first play. On the second play, he's so wide open, comes through, the ball's unprotected, he has it out, and he fumbled it. He gets a hit, the ball gets hit right there. He's trying to make a little bit too much happen early in the game.
So the Bengals start off with excellent field position at the 30-yard line. Jeff Blake, the quarterback. Marco Battaglia, the tight end, in motion. And the pitch left side. Dropped for a loss by Leslie O'Neal, as Kajana Carter makes his NFL debut with a carry. And the offense in front of Jeff Blake. Keep an eye on Rod Jones and Ken Blackman, rookie starting guards, next to Rich Bram, who is not the regular center. Derek Brills is out injured. There is Carter, joined by Cochran in the backfield. Pickens, who had the 17 touchdowns last year. Darnay Scott, extremely quick, and the tight end is Tony McGee. So they lose a yard. Second down and 11. Quick drop by Blake, and it's complete to Pickens inside the 20, and he's got a first down, dragged down at the 15-yard line.
We talked earlier about Pickens and Blake and wanting to connect, and here's one just a slant inside. Pickens has a little trouble holding on to the ball initially, but he's able to haul it in and has a substantial, nice gain deep in the into the Rams territory.
Ball just outside the 15-yard line. The Bengals trying to take advantage of the fumble by Phillips. Another drop by Blake, and he's dropped at the 20-yard line. Leslie O'Neal, the big free agent acquisition for San Diego, paying instant dividends.
Leslie gets his first sack as a Ram, although this sack was caused by DeMarco Farr.
And there's a flag on the play, and we'll get the first penalty call by the referee, Howard Rowe.
Illegal formation on the offense. Only 6 men on the line of scrimmage. Penalties decline. Brings up second down.
So the sack stands as the penalty is declined.
We watch DeMarco Farr comes inside Rod Jones. He causes Blake to step up, and there's Leslie O'Neal and Kevin Carter to finish him off.
So the ball at the 20-yard line. Second down and 14 for Blake. Steps up in the pocket, it's complete. But going down in a hurry is Marco Battaglia, who is the rookie out of Rutgers, makes his first NFL reception. And let's set up the Rams front four for you. Leslie O'Neal played 10 years with the San Diego Chargers, 6-time Pro Bowl. He's the big acquisition up front. And the big free agent pickup at linebacker is Robert Jones, 3 Super Bowl rings with the Dallas Cowboys. Wright and Parker the corners, Wright and Lyle the safeties. Third down and 11 after the 3-yard gain by Battaglia. Eric Bieniemy is in the backfield for Cincinnati. And Blake wants a timeout.
Well, the crowd likes to get those timeouts early. They like Cincinnati calling those timeouts here.
Well, Jeff Blake will talk things over on the sidelines with Dave Shula and Ken Anderson, but the Bengals on the move trying to take advantage of an early turnover by the Rams. Opening moments of this first quarter in St. Louis. The Rams with the costly turnover on their very first series. Lawrence Phillips, their #1 pick, coughing it up on the second play of the game. And now, Bart, the Bengals facing 3rd and 11 just outside the 16-yard line.
Well, they've got enough room to work their passing game because everything they do are pretty quick hits.
Flag stopped the play, and the Rams seem to think that the Bengals moved prematurely.
Kevin Carter's pointing over to Joe Walter. We'll see if Kevin's got the right call.
Prior to the snap. False start, number 63 offense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat third down.
Joe Carter shifts a little bit, causes Kevin Carter to move. Officials see it. They throw the flag on Joe Walter there.
So that moves Cincinnati back another 5 yards. 3rd and 16 now. The ball at the 22-yard line. And the draw to Bieniemy up the middle. He's got good yardage inside the 15, well short of the first down. And we'll see Doug Pelfrey come on for Cincinnati to try to make it 3-0.
Bieniemy, as we were told by Coach Shula, is their most dependable back. Trying to get some positive yards here. It's difficult in that situation to go into the end zone, pick up some good yards, giving the kicker a little better chance, a little bit shorter field goal attempt.
Spot this on the 21, 31-yard attempt for Pelfrey. Very accurate field goal kicker, and he splits the uprights. So the Bengals wanted a touchdown. They don't get that, but a flag has been thrown, and the Bengals indicating this one is against the Rams.
This is an interesting call. Holding on the defense on the field goal attempt. Sometimes the defense will, when they're rushing, they'll try to open a lane for one of the outside guys to come through on. So one of the defensive guys will grab an offensive player and try to pull him out of the way and allow a lane for for his teammate to come through for the
holding
attempted block.
Number 58 on the defense. We've got a pull and shoot. Holding, let the man come through. First down.
Oh, that's a big penalty.
Huge penalty. So the Bengals will take the 3 points off the board now. And the ball is now spotted just outside the 8-yard line. That holding penalty on Roman Pfeiffer.
Well, that certainly hurts. A lot of people don't like to take the points off the board. I'm of the opinion that you're going to get closer to the goal line. You've got 4 shots to go. If you have a turnover, of course, it's negative. But I think at this juncture of the game particularly, you take the penalty, you go for the 7 points.
So now it's 1st and goal. And Kajana Carter gets his 2nd carry of the game, and he's stuck back to the 10-yard line.
That play's developed too slowly. Against the Rams defensive front, who are penetrators, you've got to have quick hitting plays. This play kind of lags behind. It's not really a draw, but it's a slow developing play. It gives the penetrating Rams an opportunity to get in the backfield and cut off the running lanes.
2nd and goal from the 10, 11:05 left in the 1st quarter. The Bengals still working on taking advantage of the Phillips fumble. Blake looking left side, incomplete as Carter came out of the backfield. That'll bring up 3rd and goal from the 10.
Just a little quick hitch to the outside. Blake is not going to sit in the pocket. He's not the type of guy that's going to drop back 7 steps. As we were talking to Bruce Coslet yesterday, he said he doesn't even run 7-step drops, maybe once every 3 or 4 months. But here's a situation where he takes 2 steps. He wants to get the quick hit. He was just a little low on the throw.
Coslet was also very concerned about his offensive line, which starts 2 rookies at guard, and Jones and Blackman. 3rd and goal. Blake steps up, incomplete. He wanted Darnay Scott, overthrew him. Toby Wright was on the coverage of Scott.
It was good protection there by his offensive line, and it was a smart throw by Blake. He threw the ball high, saying if Darnay Scott doesn't catch it, nobody's going to catch it. Give his team a chance for the attempted field goal here.
So Pelfrey comes in again, already hitting on a 31-yarder that the Bengals chose to take off the scoreboard. This a 28-yard attempt, and once again Pelfrey is through. So again, the Bengals don't get the touchdown, but they do take advantage and put points on the board. 10:51 left in the 1st. Cincinnati strikes first. They're up 3-0. Lawrence Phillips, the 6th pick overall, returning kickoffs for the Rams. And Rich Brooks was telling us a couple of days ago that it was the first time when he returned kicks in the final preseason game that he'd returned kicks since high school. So the first one in practice hits him in the face mask, and he takes a couple of stumbles and he falls down. So Lawrence Phillips in a new role as a kickoff return man.
He's an exciting open field runner. And I think that's what Rich Brooks wants to do. He wants to get him in the open field, get him the ball where he can start some momentum, make some cuts. He's a powerful runner, type of guy that can make some things happen on the field with a football.
Well, the Rams had so much confidence in his running ability that they traded Jerome Bettis to Pittsburgh. Phillips was holding out for a couple of weeks, but signed a 3-year, $5.5 million contract. As you take a look at his numbers at Nebraska in 3 years,
But what impresses you there is the yards per carry.
And the left-footed Lee Johnson gets into it. And this one will float out of bounds, and they'll move back Johnson.
As we were talking about Lawrence Phillips, he averaged 6.2 yards a carry.
Well, here comes Steve Walsh. We mentioned his very first NFL start since December of 1994. He comes over from the Chicago Bears. This is the very first time he has started an NFL season opener. He's got a 19-16 career record as a starter. He's been with Dallas. He's been with New Orleans. He lost the job to Eric Kramer last year in Chicago, but good field position for the Rams to begin this time at the 40-yard line after Johnson went out of bounds. And Phillips with a carry right back, good for 2 or 3 to about the 43. Artie Smith, number 70 of the Bengals, makes the stop. Well, Lawrence Phillips says, I know I was the best in the draft, and he even admits, Bart, that his off-the-field problems made him slip to the 6th position.
Well, they gave him the ball again right after the fumble, saying we still have confidence in you. Make something happen.
2nd down and 7. And the whistles come in and stop play as a flag was thrown on the far side, and we'll once again hear from Howard Rowe.
Prior to the snap, we got a false start on number 86 offense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 2nd down.
Well, the penalty on Aaron Lang, who is starting at the tight end position for the Rams in place of Troy Drayton, who missed the entire preseason after having his knee scope on August 9th. So that sets the Rams back. And 2nd and 12. Quick drop by Walsh. Batted at the line of scrimmage. The ball is up for grabs at the 42-yard line, and it falls incomplete.
The Bengals are pretty good size up front. You got Dan Wilkinson, you got John Copeland.
And Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson got a hand on this one.
He's watching the quarterback, sticks his hand up, times it well. Almost had a 2nd turnover early in the game. Last year the Rams were very efficient early in the season about turnovers. That was their demise later in the season. Here we're seeing they had a turnover already, and almost an interception on that play on that tip ball.
As you look at Big Daddy, they're expecting a breakout year for him. He really had a dominant preseason. The number 1 pick overall back in '94. He led all the AFC interior linemen last year with 8 sacks. And on 3rd and long, Walsh over the middle and in and out of the hands of Eddie Kennison, the rookie out of LSU. And that's not the way the number 1 pick wanted to begin his NFL career, with a drop.
You don't want your debut in the NFL to be a drop on a potential 20 or 30-yard pass when he hits you right in the hands. Walsh has some pressure from John. He stands there, delivers a nice ball. Kennison just can't hang on to it.
Kennison led the Rams in receiving this preseason.
They're very high on Kennison. They like him. They think he's going to be a real talent.
Well, back deep for the Bengals is Corey Sawyer, and he steps back to the 15 after the Sean Landeta punt and drives it out of bounds across the 25-yard line, and more flags have come in, maybe perhaps some late hitting on the far side.
This was a nice punt by Sean. He had some good hang time. He angled it right into the corner. It seals the returner in. It gives it's a lot less field for the returner to run on.
And that of course would have nothing to do with you playing with Sean your first 3 seasons in the USFL and 9 more years with the Giants.
I've seen him punt a few times. He's always been a very good punter. Has had tremendous hang time and height on his punts. His net averages have always been pretty good because of his ability to put the ball up in the air and let his return team run under.
Well, there's the personal foul.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness on number 21, the receiving team. First down.
It looked like Eric Bieniemy here, a little too aggressive, away from the ball, and it cost his team some good field position. You don't want these mistakes, particularly from a guy like an Eric Bieniemy, who's been around, he's been in the game, and should know better than to have that type of foul away from the ball.
So Cincinnati begins at the 13, and we're back in a moment. Well, don't forget to tune in next Saturday at 4:30 Eastern Time. NBC Sports World answers the questions: who is the NFL's most versatile running back and who is the NFL's fastest man? Emmitt Smith among those competing in the NFL Run to Daylight next Saturday at 4:30 Eastern Time here on NBC. So not a very pretty ball game in the opening moments for the Bengals or the Rams. Cincinnati already 3 penalties for 23 yards. The personal foul driving this series to begin back on its own 13-yard line. And a pitch left side. Kajana Carter maybe got a couple. He's dragged out of bounds, and another flag comes flying in.
The Rams strung out Kajana Carter very nicely there. Held him to minimal gain.
Face mask.
Face mask penalty. 54 on the defense. 5-yard penalty only.
He's got the quickness to get outside. And we had a little face mask.
And a face mask on Purcell Gaskins. So the Bengals now operate from about the 14-yard line, first down. Good play action by Blake, going down deep downfield, and that is Darnay Scott, incomplete.
Oh my. Oh my.
Darnay Scott and Todd Light in a foot race downfield. Blake put it right on the money, but it was pretty much up for grabs for either Light or Scott.
Well, we talked earlier about Blake's ability to throw the ball deep. He has such a great elevation on the ball. He lays it up and he lets his receivers run under it. Darnay Scott's got the speed. He's got Todd Light beat. Todd Light makes a terrific defensive play in stripping the ball out before it's a reception.
So second down now. And this time Blake will keep it on the ground. Kajana Carter again having a tough time finding running room. And really, Bart, neither Lawrence Phillips or Kajana Carter set the world on fire in the preseason.
No, I think both coaches wanted to give him some opportunities, but both coaches said that their offensive lines just didn't give them the opportunity to run. Here we're seeing the Rams' defensive front penetrating, cutting off the lanes for the running backs to run here early in the game.
So third down and 3 for the Bengals. They lead at 3-0. Quick drop by Blake, and that is incomplete to the far side, intended once again for Scott. And Light was once again on the coverage. So the Rams defense holds, and they ought to be able to get pretty good field position after stopping Cincinnati.
Well, the call was made, would have been a first down. The throw was a little bit low, and the receiver couldn't hold on to it.
So Lee Johnson stands at his own 5-yard line, and there is Kennison, who we saw drop a potential big gain earlier. He stands back at the 33-yard line. 8:18 left in the first quarter. And Kennison will get a shot at the 39. Cross midfield. And he can burn. Johnson tries to make the tackle and pushes Kennison out of bounds, but an excellent punt return for the rookie out of LSU.
That's the kind of NFL debut that you want. I think he made up a little bit for the drop pass earlier. Lee Johnson, on the other hand, does a good job just to prevent Kennison from scoring a touchdown. They like Kennison's speed, his quickness, his elusiveness. And Lee Johnson uses the sideline and keeps them from scoring a touchdown.
He's a 6-time track All-American, Kennison is, with 4.3 40 speed, and he sets the Rams up in great shape at the 22-yard line, 1st and 10. Isaac Bruce in motion, comes back to the near side. Quick drop by Walsh, and he wants Bruce, who tried to make a one-handed grab and covered very closely by Ashley Ambrose, the free agent over from the Colts.
Bruce goes into motion, comes back across the formation, and does a quick out. The ball's delivered. Ashley Ambrose stumbles and falls. If that catch is made, it goes for a touchdown.
Isaac Bruce, more than 1,700 receiving yards last year, the 2nd most in the NFL record books, behind only Jerry Rice. This the give to Lawrence Phillips. Darting left, goes right inside the 20 for a gain of 3 or 4. So let's take our first scoring update with Greg Gumbel in New York. Greg?
All right, Dan, in Jacksonville, the Jaguars draw first blood against the Steelers. Mark Brunell, 38 yards to Willie Jackson. This caps an 80-yard drive by the Jaguars. The extra point has them on top of the Steelers, 7-0 late in the first quarter. Dan.
Okay, thank you, Greg. And many feel that the Bengals can challenge the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Central this year. 3rd down and 6. Walsh rolling right, goes left, and he's got Harold Green out of the backfield. And Green leaping toward the goal line, just stopped by Bracy Walker. Harold Green signed as a free agent this year after 6 years with the Bengals and picks up a nifty 17 on that play.
Well, Harold Green is the guy on the field that has most rushing yards of anybody. The last 6 years he's been with the Rams. It's a rollout. It looks like it's going to be a pass. Good job by Walsh by looking down the field. He dumps it to Harold Green. Good downfield blocking. He gets down to inside the 1-yard line.
1st and goal for the Rams. They trail at 3-0. But up and over the top is Lawrence Phillips for the touchdown.
Lawrence is going to get credit for the touchdown. Harold Green is the one that got him in the position to do it. So the Rams take advantage of the nice return by Kennison to get us 6 points on the scoreboard.
First NFL touchdown for Lawrence Phillips. And Chip Lohmiller trying to add on the 7th point. The Rams have had some problems with their snaps this preseason, but that one seemingly good enough as Lohmiller pumps it through, and Lawrence Phillips puts the Rams on top with this over the end zone score.
Lawrence gets airborne.
But you're right, Bart, it was really Kennison's return that set it up. So the high draft picks for the Rams, Eddie Kennison out of LSU and Lawrence Phillips. After struggling early, it was Phillips who had the fumble on the Rams opening series. Kennison had a ball right in his chest and dropped it, but his 40-yard punt return helped set up Lawrence Phillips' 1-yard plunge as the Rams take the 7-3 lead.
Well, they took both those guys in the first round thinking that they could help them immediately. Both of them were instrumental in scoring the first touchdown for the Rams.
And awaiting the Lohmiller kickoff is David Dunn, who starts at the 2 and quickly dropped back at about the 16-yard line. $14-yard return for Dunn as the Bengals set up at the 17-yard line. And Jeff Blake really emerged as a star last year in the NFL, Bart. He set a Bengals single season record with 326 completions. Started for Dan Marino in the Pro Bowl because Marino was hurt. But now the next step for Blake and the Bengals is to try to make it to the playoffs, as Carter gets the call and he's dropped back for what appears to be a loss.
Well, it's this young offensive line that they wanted to simplify things for this offensive line. Joe Walter, the right tackle, is the only guy has 121 starts. The other 4 have a combined 2 starts. They're not handling the pressure coming from the Rams front right now. Bruce Coslett is going to have to change things a little bit and try to open it up, I think.
Joe Walter says, I'm in Ken Blackman's ear the entire time. Joe Walter, 121 career starts, Melvin Tootin the other 2. That's Kajana Carter with a pretty good burst across the 20-yard line. But that'll bring up 3rd down for Cincinnati. Let's go back to Greg Gumbel in our NFL studios.
All right, Dan, in Houston, the Oilers jumped off to a 10-0 lead, but the Chiefs come right back, helped out by a pass interference call. Steve Bono, 11 yards to Tamarick Vanover. The extra point makes it a 3-point game now. Oilers 10, Chiefs 7. Dan?
All right, Greg, our score here in St. Louis. The Rams 7, the Bengals 3. And Cincinnati faced with another 3rd down situation, 3rd and 5, and more flags come in and stop it. And Blake gets into a little extracurricular activity with DeMarco Farr.
You had guys both sides of the ball are jumping. It just depends on what the officials see. If the defensive guy jumps into the neutral zone and causes the offensive lineman to move, then the penalty is going to be assessed against the defense. If, however, the offense moves, which causes the defensive guy to move, then a penalty is assessed on the offense. So it depends on what the officials saw, and here they're conferencing.
And usually the conferences last a little longer in the opener, huh, Bart?
Well, they have a lot more to talk about. They haven't seen each other as much.
Neutral zone infraction, number 93 on the defense. 5-yard penalty.
Here they determined that Kevin Carter moved into the neutral zone, causing the offensive lineman to move. It was really the nose tackle, Jimmy Jones. He moved into the neutral zone. They called it on Kevin Carter, but it looked like from the playback that it was Jimmy Jones who's offset on the nose tackle. The whole concept of this Rams front is getting off the ball as quick as possible. They're going to allow these guys to be offsides a couple times because they don't want to take away from their aggressiveness in getting after the quarterback.
So now 3rd and less than a yard with a penalty. And Blake will go to the air near side to Carl Pickens, and he'll pick up the 1st down.
Well, Anthony Parker was more than happy to give him a little cushion there, hold him to a 2- or 3-yard pickup. Blake sits there, takes a step, he looks, and he throws it right on rhythm. He's going with the design. He's trying to get a rhythm going in the passing game. It worked there. They got the 1st down.
Kajana Carter is split out wide to the near side.
Looks like he was a little confused as to where he should go. Blake goes out to the outside. He's out there talking to Kajana, saying, no, I think you should be outside the receivers, not inside the receivers.
So the Bengals call a timeout. It has not been a pretty beginning for Dave Shula's team. As we remind you that tonight on Dateline Sunday, the president's top political advisor is caught up in a sex scandal, and why did this story surface when it did? And just what's happening. You can check it out on Dateline NBC tonight following the game on most of these NBC stations. Dave Shula in the 5th year of his 5-year contract, and this is a very important season for Dave. 7-9 last year, but that coming off back-to-back 3-13 seasons. And really, Bart, for the first time in his tenure at Cincinnati, he says, I really feel like I have the kind of team that can challenge in the Central and make the playoffs.
Well, Dave told us he has the most talent he's had in 5 years. He expects good things from this team.
And Blake lofts it up near side. He was pretty well pressured. Didn't have a lot of time to wait for Pickens to complete the route. So that'll bring up 2nd down and 10. and more flags.
That's unusual for a first game, isn't it?
You tell me.
No, I think officials' wrists are going to be a little sore after this game if they keep up at this pace.
Defensive holding on Rich Brooks' team.
Holding number 55 on a defense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Howard Rowe says it's Robert Jones is holding there.
Robert Jones, another one of those big free agent acquisitions for the Rams. 3 Super Bowl rings with Dallas. The Rams brought in a lot of, they wanted to get Brian Cox, but he ended up signing with the Bears, but it's Robert Jones who mans that spot. And a handoff to Kajana Carter across the 35 up to about the 38-yard line before Kevin Carter brings him down.
Well, Robert Jones and Jeff Blake are brother-in-laws. They played together at East Carolina, and Jeff Blake's wife introduced his sister to Robert Jones. And now it's a family affair today.
Blake's wife, Lawana, and Robert Jones's wife, Manisha. There hasn't been a lot of talking between the two friends, though, this week. They pretty much kept to themselves.
Said it was all business this week.
On 2nd and 5 to the near side. Nice grab made by Carter. And he's out of bounds at about the 43-yard line. That'll be short of the first down, but Kajana Carter showing some pretty good hands.
They're showing the tendency of hitting the quick pass. They don't want to sit back there. Jeff went to the running back here. Kajana makes a nice effort to try to get the ball over the first down marker. The official spotted it just a little bit short.
3rd and less than a yard for Cincinnati. The ball at their own 43. 3 minutes left in the first quarter. Rams with a 7-3 lead. Sweet Carter right side has the first down across midfield and into Ram territory.
Best run of the day for the Bengals. Kajana looks like he's feeling a little more comfortable out there, a little more at ease in running. Of course, it doesn't hurt when you have a hole here. Rookie tight end Mark Battaglia there does a nice job on Kevin Carter, opens up a lane. Kajana Carter takes it. Good running, good blocking by the Cincinnati Bengals there.
So the first down at the Ram 49. Blake pressured again, gets rid of it. Tried to find Scott over the middle, but right in his face was number 91, Leslie O'Neal, who signed a 3-year, $9.5 million deal after the 10 years in San Diego. But he is happy to be with what he calls a team that wants him, Bart.
Well, Melvin Tootin almost completely missed Leslie. I think he got one hand on him, but he didn't stop him. Leslie has one of the best inside moves, as we saw in that replay in the league. That's one of his strengths. He'll do that time and time again unless Melvin Tootin shuts it off.
He led the Chargers in sacks the last 6 years.
He's the most prolific passer of the last sacker in the last 4 years.
Over the middle to Jeff Cothran, who makes the reception at the 45-yard line. That'll bring up 3rd down. Roman Pfeiffer, the linebacker for the Rams, on the stop.
The Bengals have stressed going to their backs a little more this year, wanting to dump the ball off in a short game to their backs. In our conversations with Jeff Blake, we mentioned he's noted as a deep thrower. There's some criticism about a short game. He seemed to think that if you could throw it long, you could definitely throw it short. He's doing a pretty good job so far in hitting the short guys and picking up some positive yards.
Nickel package defensively in for the Rams on 3rd and 5. And this one complete to Darnay Scott inside the 35 to about the 33-yard line. Darnay Scott, a St. Louis native, trying to impress his hometown fans here this afternoon.
Pretty good protection up front, allows Jeff to sit, take a step up, hit Darnay Scott coming across the middle. They know where the first down marker is. It's a pretty good scheme, not always trying to hit deep. One thing that they've emphasized this year is to increase the pass completion percentage, and you can see the results of it so far. You're going to march down the field and get first downs.
Carter in motion to the far side. Underneath to the tight end, Tony McGee. And McGee brought down very quickly for maybe a yard gain. Tony McGee set career highs in catches and yards last year. He was 3rd in yards and 4th in catches among all the NFL tight ends last year. But he is also hearing the footsteps of Marco Battaglia as well, the rookie out of Rutgers, who's been very impressive.
There's always room for 2 tight ends on the field. They're going to run more and more 2 tight end formation, according to Cruz Casa.
2nd and 9, and the exchange fumbled by Blake.
Invariably, you're going to have those problems with those center exchanges.
Blake never had control, and the Rams recover.
Carlos Jenkins comes up with the ball.
So both teams with an early turnover, and the first one for the Bengals.
It's difficult to tell whether the quarterback pulls out or the center short snaps it. But whatever the situation may be, anytime you get into these live game situations with a guy that hasn't been there very much, the propensity is there for those problems to arise. You would think that that's the most fundamental part of the game, is the center snap to the quarterback, and there should never be problems.
Well, that is Rich Bram. He's the regular left guard. Derek Brills is expected to miss the first 3 games, out with a foot injury. He's the center. But as you mentioned, Bram in there snapping to Blake, so the Rams take over at the 34-yard line. They lead at 7-3. And dumps it underneath to Greg Robinson. And Robinson to the 40-yard line. It was Robinson who led the Rams in rushing this preseason. Comes up with his first catch of 96. The end of the first quarter in St. Louis. The Rams on top 7-3. Well, there is the Bengals center, Rich Bram, who seems to be blaming himself a little bit for the exchange.
Yeah, Rich is patting his chest, signifying like, okay, that was my fault. It was my bad. Sorry about that, guys. I know exactly how he feels. I came in the league in '85. Phil and I, or rather, it was really Phil got credit for it, but Phil Simms, we set a record for most fumbles between a quarterback and a center.
Something you're very, very proud of, obviously, to this day.
Oh,
did you really set a record?
Up to that point. I think it's been broke since, but Phil and I, we spent many an hour before practice and after practice just working on that fundamental basic center snap.
So 2nd down and 4 for St. Louis at its own 40. And Walsh the handoff up the middle to Greg Robinson. We mentioned Robinson, who led the Rams in rushing this preseason. Signed as a free agent last year after being released by the Raiders. He's also had his knee problems. Missed the end of '93 and all of 1994 after reconstructive knee surgery.
He's got some good quickness. He hits the hole quickly. They like to bring him in there and exploit some of the weaknesses of the defenses when you get some good push up front.
He picks up the first down, ball at the 45. And this time, Robinson nowhere to go. Stop back for a big loss. Well, the Baltimore Ravens playing their first year in Baltimore. Let's get an update from Greg on that.
All right, Dan, the Ravens jumped off to a 7-0 lead, but back come the Oakland Raiders. Billy Joe Herbert's 7-yard bullet to Tim Brown to cap a 79-yard drive. They're in the second quarter. The extra point, they're tied at 7, Dan.
Okay, Greg, thank you very much. 13:50 left in the opening half. The Rams up 7-3. 2nd down and 16 after the big loss. Walsh steps back, throws far sideline, incomplete, and he wanted Eddie Kennison. Well, Steve Walsh has been talked about a lot in his 8-year NFL career, Bart. The big rap on him, and you hear from the scouts, is that he lacks the arm strength to get it downfield. But Rich Brooks will tell you that it's not just his arm strength.
Yeah, well, Rich Brooks, he likes him, though. He really likes him. He doesn't make mistakes. He's 8-3 as a starter. He said he tends to overstride sometimes, which affects his accuracy, and that'll happen when the pressure is on.
Well, he needs a big gain here on 3rd and 16, and pressured there by John Copeland as another flag comes in.
Well, under pressure again. Both offensive lines are having problem containing the defensive fronts. Walsh is getting pressure there from Copeland.
And that could be intentional grounding on Walsh, as that flag fell deep in the backfield right by Walsh's feet.
Well, referee Howard Rowe, after the throw, he looks over where the ball is at, doesn't see any blue and gold jerseys, reaches into that front and grabs out that yellow flag.
And he's checking with the rest of his officiating team.
It looks like they're just determining where the spot of the foul should go at this point.
Intentional grounding on the offensive quarterback. Loss of down. Brings up 4th down.
And that is a big, costly penalty. The loss of down, bringing up 4th down and long, and Rich Brooks will have no choice but to punt.
Copeland comes through there on a stunt with Big Daddy. There's nobody there. The play can't develop because of the pressure from the front of the Bengals defensive front.
Look at him right in the face of tight end Aaron Lang there. Perhaps upset with maybe a block that was missed from that side of the line.
Could have been.
So Landetta, another good punt. Corey Sawyer drifting back to the 23. Will have a chance to run it. And another good return. He's got one man to beat. Corey Sawyer could go all the way, but not to be. He'll be dropped inside the 20. But an excellent return for Sawyer. Keith Lyle finally chased him down. Sawyer doesn't have great speed, but David Shula, as he puts it, says it is functional football speed, and that was a big reason while he was chased down by Lyle.
He runs through. Good blocking by the Bengals.
48-yard punt return by Sawyer.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Nike. By Priority Mail from the U.S. Postal Service. And by Visa, the preferred card of the NFL. It's everywhere you want to be.
Well, in the first quarter, it was Eddie Kennison who set up the Rams' first scoring opportunity with a nice punt return, and now Corey Sawyer goes 62 yards to put the Bengals in business at the Ram 12.
A very nice return. He had some space between he and the defenders when he caught the ball. There were some good blocks made up front, allowed him to go for the 62 yards. Puts them in excellent field position. They're inside the 20-yard line. They're in the red zone. We'll see if they can take advantage of that with a touchdown.
Carter and Bieniemy in the backfield. Quick drop by Blake and a nice catch inside the 10 at the 8-yard line by Bieniemy.
Very, very nice catch by Eric Bieniemy. Good hands, stretches out, he makes it a pretty tough catch. Gives him 8 yards on first down. Exactly what you want to do on first down, particularly when you're in the red area.
He led the Bengals running backs with 43 catches last year. Second down and 2 from the 9-yard line, so Cincinnati can pick up a fresh set of downs.
Now Cincinnati just uses their second timeout. I stand corrected. They just used their third timeout. They have no more timeouts left in this first half.
So Dave Shula, who has been doing some ranting and raving on the sidelines here in the early going, upset over the Bengals' confusion on the field. Dan Hicks and Bart Oates back in St. Louis. Dave Shula still fuming on the sidelines. The Bengals have used up all of their timeouts in this first half. 12:30 left in it. And they trail at 7-3, but with an opportunity here. Second down and 2 from the 9. Kajana Carter dropped for a big loss. And it's DeMarco Farr penetrating for the defensive line.
Well, this is in essence a rookie mistake. When you're down inside the 10-yard line, you don't want your running back to reverse his field when there's nothing there. Take what you can get. If it's a little bit of loss, take it, but don't run around and then go back another 6 or 7 yards and make the situation worse.
So Carter dropped for a big loss, and the Bengals now at the 15-yard line, 3rd down and 8.
Obvious passing situation unless they want to run a draw.
Eric Bieniemy is in the backfield. He's the 3rd down back for Cincinnati. And more flags come in and stop the play.
They were sitting up there at the line of scrimmage. They couldn't decide what they wanted to do.
Delay of game.
Cincinnati's not in sync as far as calling the
down.
plays, getting them transferred into the huddle, making that huddle call, getting up to the line of scrimmage, and reading the defense.
And Dave Shula just staring motionless, expressionless out there now. If you thought he was upset a moment ago, there's Coslett upstairs.
And you don't want to blow 3 timeouts in the first 18 minutes of the game.
3rd and 13 now from the 20. Bieniemy, screen pass, trying to pick up extra yardage. He'll be dropped at the 18-yard line, and that'll bring up 4th and long. Anthony Parker brought Bieniemy down. And so an excellent scoring opportunity for the Bengals for a touchdown turns into a field goal attempt here.
Well, it worked for him earlier in the game to set up the Lawrence Phillips touchdown. Here, rather, it worked for the Rams. The Bengals said, let us try for it. It didn't work for them. The Rams were ready to stop it.
Pelfrey was good from 27 yards out in the first quarter. This one will be a 40-yard attempt. And once again, Pelfrey will split the uprights.
Well, Pelfrey's on pace to be one of the most accurate kickers in the history of the NFL. I think he just doesn't have enough attempts yet.
Welcome back to St. Louis. The Bengals adding the 2nd field goal of the game. But it should have been a touchdown. They had penetrated to the 8-yard line of the Rams before mass confusion came in, Bart.
Well, you have to look at the young offensive line and say that they're facing one of the most aggressive defensive lines in the game today. That's the style of their game, and it's creating some confusion.
So Lee Johnson's kick will be handled by J.T. Thomas just at about the goal line. Right side across the 15-20. And dropped out of bounds at about the 28-29-yard line. So an excellent return for J.T. Thomas, brought down by Ashley Ambrose. And there is the Bengals offensive line. You mentioned earlier the only veteran there by a long shot, number 63, Joe Walter. Jones and Blackman, rookies. Jones a rookie out of Kansas and Blackman a rookie out of Illinois, starting in front of Jeff Blake. And that is something that concerned Bruce Coslett very much when we talked to him yesterday.
Well, he said they were going to simplify some of the runs, but they didn't want to take away protections and limit the offensive line. He's got to find that happy balance there somewhere.
Ball at the 27 for Walsh. And Walsh, that one nearly picked off in the secondary by Ashley Ambrose. It was intended for Isaac Bruce.
Walsh threw the ball a little bit behind Isaac Bruce. This ball had a very good chance of being picked off. Looks like he's a little crowded. Didn't feel real comfortable in throwing the ball. Had to avoid a couple of his guys, and it affected his timing.
Ambrose, the highest paid free agent in club history for Cincinnati, signed a 3-year, $5 million deal. As you take a look at some of the other scores around this opening Sunday in the NFL. Walsh pressured again, and this time in and out of the hands of Tim Johnson. And he knows that not only he nearly had an interception, but there was just nothing but pay dirt ahead of him.
Tim's a defensive lineman. Matter of fact, he doesn't rush. He's kind of mirroring. He's sitting there at the line of scrimmage. There's Dan Wilkerson Said he was ready for a big year. We talked to him. He looked like he was comfortable, and he was ready to come in and make some real things happen for this Cincinnati Bengals team.
So 3rd down and 10 again. Ball back at the 27. Walsh needs a bunch. This time he picks up the 1st down at the 38, and Isaac Bruce has made his very first reception of this game. He had 119 receptions last year.
It's a sign of a guy that knows what he's doing on a football field. A good veteran move. He goes to the 1st down spot. He turns around. Walsh delivers it. They make the catch. They've got to respect his speed, so they're playing off of him a bit. Very smart run or throw and catch by Walsh and Bruce.
Those 119 catches, 4th in the NFL last year, but more importantly 5th in NFL history. And this time the Rams on the ground. Lawrence Phillips bowling his way across the 40. Brought down by Tim Johnson.
Well, both these teams came into this preseason wanting to establish a run. They were both low in the rankings last year in their running efficiency and their production. So they've wanted to run the ball, and that's why you've got the one went with Lawrence Phillips, the other guy has Kajana Carter.
And there is Garrison Hurst, who has not come into the ball game yet. He was the big free agent acquisition from the Cardinals. And guess what? More flags.
This ball is live.
Lawrence Phillips sweeping around the right end, but Howard Rowe, what do you got for us now?
It's another flag.
Well, Bart, I know you played professional football for 15 years, but is this one of the ugliest early season openers you can think of in a long time as far as penalties?
There's been a lot of penalties so far today.
We've got encroachment on a defense on the middle guard. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 2nd down.
Here again, the defensive lineman determined by the officials to make the penetration, encroachment into the neutral zone, that area where the ball is. Hence, it's called against the defense and not against the offense.
Penalty yards piling up for both Dave Shula and Rich Brooks.
Well, the natural reaction is for the defense to kind of hold up when they see the penalties go. But there was a live ball. If the enemy had gone for a touchdown, it would have counted.
Ball at the 47 now. 2nd down and 2. And a handoff right side, Lawrence Phillips. He won't even get close to the 1st down. Good penetration by the Bengals up front. Let's get another Raiders-Ravens update from Greg Gumbel. Greg?
Dan, you say that very well. The Ravens off to a 7-0 start, but the Raiders have come back now for 2 touchdowns, both on passes from Billy Joe Hobart to Tim Brown. That one good for 10 yards and a 14-7 Oakland lead. Dan?
All right, thank you, Greg. St. Louis up 7-6. 3rd down and short, less than 2. And here comes Harold Green. He'll pick up the 1st down. So the former Bengal has figured very prominently early in this one.
Well, I think he might feel that he has something to prove. He wants to show that he can still play, he can still produce. He's had a couple of good plays here early in the first half. It's a quick pitch to the outside, allows the running backs to get out there. It prevents defense from flowing to the ball as quickly.
All-time rushers in Bengals history. Harold Green 3rd on the list behind James Brooks and Pete Johnson. He was a Pro Bowler back in '92. Walsh getting rid of it just in time, and the Bengals won another intentional grounding call.
Well, before the rule change of a year or so ago, it would have been an intentional grounding, but the umpire or the referee ruled that he was outside the pocket, and hence when you're outside the pocket, now the quarterback can throw the ball, intentionally ground it. Another rule that allows the quarterback or will protect the quarterback a little more than in years past.
Well, there were some hard feelings, Bart, here in St. Louis when Randall Cunningham didn't end up being signed by St. Louis. He came in for a look, but Steve Walsh ended up getting the job, and that ball falls incomplete, and that'll bring up third down. So Steve Walsh has been around the league a long time. We mentioned this is his 8th year and his 4th NFL club, but there's a man by the name of Tony Banks who stands in the wings for the Rams as well. He was the first quarterback chosen, and he has been putting the pressure on Steve Walsh all preseason long. And there is a look at Banks, the 2nd-round pick out of Michigan State.
Coach Brooks told us he wouldn't hesitate to put Banks in there. As a matter of fact, each of these quarterbacks ranked 2, 3, and 4, including Jamie Martin, in passing efficiency in the preseason.
So for the moment, Banks watches from the sidelines, and on 3rd and 10, more flags. This is really getting old.
You see each side's pointing at the other side going, no, he encroached. No, he moved first.
Prior to the snap, false start on number 80 offense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
And that'll be on Isaac Bruce.
Which is interesting. Usually the wide receiver is going to watch the ball and move on the ball's movement rather than listen to the quarterback. It's usually your interior linemen who are listening to the quarterback and will move early. Will be called for the offsides.
You have to be thinking that Walsh will be looking for Bruce on 3rd down and 15. Ball just short of midfield. Walsh rolling to his right, and he wanted Bruce, but Bruce was well covered, and that'll bring up 4th down. And the boos begin to be heard here in St. Louis, directed at that anemic offensive series for the Rams.
Well, they used a little movement here by the quarterback to try to avoid some of the pressure that Walsh has been facing in the pocket. He rolls out, but there's nobody open. So while he had a little bit of extra time to throw it, the defensive backfield, the newly built defensive backfield, did a good job.
So Sean Lendetta punting once again to Corey Sawyer, who had the brilliant punt return earlier, and this time Sawyer calls for the fair catch at the 12-yard line. 6:55 left in the first half. The Rams clinging to a 7-6 lead. Well, coming up next, the second half of our NFL and NBC doubleheader. The Patriots and Drew Bledsoe try to bounce back from a disappointing year last year. And their first task of this season comes against divisional foe Miami, as Dan Marino begins his 14th season at quarterback. And a change at the helm. Jimmy Johnson in for Don Shula. Johnson hoping for his 3rd Super Bowl ring and Miami's first in 23 years. So that coming up next in the second half of our doubleheader. 7-6 here. St. Louis on top in what we can term not a pretty game at all. Cincinnati, though, starting here 1st and 10 from the 11. Blake looping it up for Darnay Scott. Scott covered very nicely by Todd Light. Todd Light was courted by the Jacksonville Jaguars this offseason, but the Rams matched their 4-year, $10.7 million offer for the former Notre Dame #1 pick.
As the transition player, they had that right to match him. He told us that in our conversations that he likes luxury, but he only likes that standard luxury thing.
Well, that's a pretty luxurious contract. They also anteed up for Toby Wright, 7 years, $12.8 million. So the Rams invested in their secondary. That ball caught by Carl Pickens. Now they're saying incomplete. Anthony Parker on the coverage.
Well, Carl Pickens comes in, knows where the 1st down marker is. Ball skips before it gets to him. He doesn't even complain.
Obviously trapped by Pickens.
Here's a big 3rd down play. They're deep in their own territory. Fans are getting into it a little bit. They need 10 yards to get a 1st down. This young Bengal offensive line is having problems with this Rams front 4.
A flag comes in and stops it all.
Now it looks like we have a little delay of game here.
So Bart, we try to build this dramatic moment, and Howard Rowe steps in.
Delay of game on the offense. 5-yard penalty.
And calls the delay of game on Dave Shula, who looks more perplexed by the moment.
Well, it's critical in these situations when you're trying to come out of deep in your own territory. You want to have the opportunity to call a timeout if there's confusion. They don't have a timeout. They can't call it. They can't stop the clock. And so if there's a little confusion down there, they're going to get called for delay of game, which happened right there. They've got to get in and out of the huddle quicker.
3rd and 15 from the 6. Blake lofting it up. Carl Pickens.
Phenomenal. Fantastic throw. Wonderful catch.
How many times have we seen that? Blake just lofting it up for Carl Pickens, who says one of his strengths is going up and getting the football.
Well, most teams wish, most teams hope they can do that maybe 2 or 3 times a year. The Bengals drop back and say, we can do that every time. They've been dinking it down, going short, but when they have to, they can go deep. This is one of the best deep throwers in the game.
So they pick up the big first down. Carl Pickens hauls it in, and all of a sudden the Bengals are in Rams territory. Kajana Carter gets the carry, but really the combination of Blake and Pickens is almost like a sixth sense. These guys just tend to sense the other's whereabouts.
Blake has such a pretty pass that gets up in the air. The height that he gets is better than anybody I've seen throw the ball recently in the NFL.
And look at the top touchdown duos, which we talked about at the beginning of the telecast. 25 touchdowns in the last 2 years. No one better in the NFL, and that includes Mr. Young and Mr. Rice.
It's a pretty good company to be in.
Blake fakes it, runs it, and gets out of bounds at the 41-yard line. Todd Light forced him out.
Well, this is one of Blake's strengths, is his ability to move. As we were told by Bruce Coslett, he does move around well in the pocket. He doesn't like to run, but he's got the ability to run when he has to.
So the Blake scramble brings up 3rd and 5 from the 42. And on the ground, it's Eric Bieniemy. And Bieniemy very close to a first down. He needed to get to about the 36, 37-yard line. Dave Shula says we got it. But they may have to measure.
Yeah, it looks pretty close here.
Howard Rowe will bring the chains out.
This is another exercise for the officials. They haven't done a measurement yet. Thrown plenty of flags. They haven't done a measurement yet. So,
well, both of these teams 7-9 last year, Bart. Both very confident in the way they feel about 1996. The playoffs will be the goal, and both of them expect to make the playoffs. But it has not been a very good start for either team.
Well, both teams have matured in that they will not be satisfied. This season will not be successful for them if they do not make the playoffs. Last year it was just let's improve on our record, get up near the 500 mark, which both teams were able to do with the 7-9. But this year both teams have high expectations to make the playoffs.
Rams started 5-1 last year before a pathetic 2-8 finish. The first down now, and here comes the reverse. Darnay Scott. And it won't reap much, maybe a yard.
Well, the Rams stayed home on that. Kevin Carter wasn't going to leave, wasn't going to pursue the play. You just never know with the reverse when it's going to work and what the reactions of the defense. Here it developed so quick. I think the Rams sniffed it out before they even had a chance to pursue on what they thought would have been a sweep.
Kevin Carter, #1 pick last year out of Florida. So really no yardage picked up. 2nd down and 10. A Ram moves across, and that's DeMarco Farr who jumped the gun. maybe he was forced offsides. That's what he says, of course.
Everybody's pointing at the other guy. He did it. No, no, no. He did it. I didn't do it. Another conference.
Second year as a starter for DeMarco Farr.
A real find for the Rams. Came in as a free agent. As we talked to him, he said that all he wanted to do last year was make the team. He just wanted to make that 53-man roster. He did it. He had this 11 and a half sacks last year.
Penalty. Repeat second down.
But he picks up the penalty there. Let's see if we can pick it up. I don't think anybody drew him offsides. At least that's the way it appeared there.
After DeMarco went past Rod Jones, Rod moved a little bit. The Rams will allow their guys to be offside. We saw Jimmy Jones offsides earlier. They're not going to get on to them for being offsides too much because they don't want to take away from that aggressiveness.
So second down and a long 4. Blake sets up, and that one just a little bit behind his tight end Tony McGee.
Looks like it was there. He was open, thrown a little bit behind him. Looks like they had a little miscue as to exactly where he was going to be and which direction he was going to go in right there. Blake just threw it a little bit behind him. If you'd thrown a little bit more in front of him, put him deep in the Rams territory.
And that's something that Bruce Coslett and the Bengals offensive staff wanted to improve on was Jeff Blake's percentage completion. And they felt they did a good job of that in the offseason and the preseason. That one, nice catch by Pickens, but quickly brought down by Anthony Parker.
Well, Anthony's playing Carl pretty tight there. Carl makes the catch, but he's got to pick up 5 yards for the first down. He only gets a yard.
So that will bring up 4th down and 4, and on comes Pelfrey again. He is 2 for 2 so far. As you see the nice play by Parker.
And very nice catch by Carl Pickens just to hold on to the ball.
Spotting this one at the 37-yard line. 47-yard attempt for Pelfrey. And that one very impressive as well.
Boy, is he kicking smooth. Nice kick.
So Doug Pelfrey is now 3 for 3. The earlier 2 good from 27 and 35. And he's given the Bengals their first lead of the game, 9-7 with 3:18 left. Well, coming up, the Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC halftime report. Greg Gumbel, Mike Ditka, Joe Gibbs, joined by Chris Collinsworth in the studio this year. And Chris sat down with the new Miami Dolphins head coach Jimmy Johnson for a conversation. We'll have that for you as well as all of the scores and highlights from around the league on this opening NFL Sunday.
Who was back there?
So Jeff Blake and the Bengals, it's been a rough start offensively for this team, and really all they felt they needed on the offensive side of the football was some running help. They got that with Kajana Carter. We have not seen Garrison Hurst yet, but they seem to be a little bit confused and out of sync to start this 96 season.
Well, as far as the huddle goes, you've got usually it's the center and the linemen that are responsible for getting into the huddle and then having the quarterback come and make the calls. Looks like there's just nobody taking charge out there, getting the huddle set up, and making sure that things are run smoothly so they don't run out of time between plays.
Lawrence Phillips handles this one from the 4. And he's hits right up the middle across the 30. Excellent return by the rookie out of Nebraska.
Lawrence likes to be able to run in that open area, in that open field.
35-yard return for Phillips.
Takes it, he makes his one cut, and then he just goes right up the field. Holds on to the ball when he sees the traffic. I think he learned from his earlier mistake.
Yeah, we asked Rich Brooks if he was a little nervous about putting his #1 pick out there to return kickoffs, and he says, heck, he didn't get a lot of work really from the running back position in the preseason, so we wanted to get a look at him. And they obviously like what they saw. This time, Phillips just across the 40-yard line. You mentioned the off-the-field problems for Lawrence Phillips. Well, now involved in a DUI charge, misdemeanor charge. That, of course, coming on the heels of a misdemeanor assault of a former girlfriend while he was at Nebraska. But he says, just give me the football and give me a chance to prove myself off the field as well and get straightened around. But a lot of teams were shy about picking him up for those reasons, Bart. Incomplete. And another flag comes in. Bo Orlando involved in the defensive secondary for the Bengals.
Lawrence wants to get the off-the-field problems behind him. He wants to get out on the field. He wants to play and let his play do his speaking. He's not real interested
Illegal
in
use
speaking
of
to
the
the
hands.
media.
Number 56 on a defense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
That call on Ricardo McDonald. Unrestricted free agent this year who re-signed with Cincinnati. And look at the yards and penalties continuing to pile up, and we're not even out of the first half. Just about 2.5 minutes left. Cincinnati on top 9-7. Rams trying to get something consistent going on offense, and that's a good way to start. Eddie Kennison now involved the football. And there's a mad scramble for it inside the 20. And Ashley Ambrose may have stripped the ball, and the Bengals recover.
Another rookie mistake. Has a nice catch coming across the middle. Good protection. The throw is there. Hits him in stride. He catches it nicely with his hands. He wants to make he feels he's going to break it, and he loses the ball. He's a little off balance. He loses the ball. The Bengals recover it.
Ashley Ambrose, a nice play to strip the ball from Kennison, who appeared for the moment that he might break it loose and go all the way.
It looked like he was going to break the tackle from the two defenders and go for the touchdown. There's another mistake by another first-round rookie.
So Cincinnati sets up. Ball at the 19, 1st and 10. 2:20 left in the first half. And Kajana Carter takes the dump from Blake, and a hard hit at the 23-yard line. Robert Jones involved there for the Rams.
Robert Jones made a good hit here, finishing off the play.
And that brings us to the 2-minute warning in St. Louis. The Bengals with a 9-7 lead on 3 field goals. Chairman and owner of the Rams now in St. Louis, and of course the move here to St. Louis from Los Angeles by Georgia Frontiere. A lot of mixed emotions back on the West Coast, Bart, and I know that you played against the Rams when they were in Los Angeles.
Yeah, the Rams were a fixture in Los Angeles for many years with Georgia Frontiere involved, and the support started to diminish as they perceived it, and she got too good of an offer to pass up here in St. Louis. And it looks like the citizens of this area of St. Louis have really embraced this team.
They have indeed, and the moves are in vogue now around the NFL. You and I were talking earlier that the floodgates really opened.
Yeah, prior to '95, there'd been 3 moves.
Well, Cincinnati trying to move the football on 2nd and 5 from the 24. Blake fires to Darnay Scott. He's got the first down across the 40-yard line, and the clock continuing to roll. 1:50 left. Toby Wright and Todd Light on the coverage of Scott.
Now the Bengals are going to a hurry-up offense. They shouldn't get a delay of game now.
Out of timeouts, remember, Cincinnati having used them all up early, and Blake caught from behind, and this one is picked off. Carlos Jenkins. With a nice juggling act and yet another turnover.
Blake tries to avoid the pressure. Kevin Carter behind hits his arm as it goes into motion. It flutters in the air, falls right in the hands of Carlos Jenkins. Joe Walter takes him wide, but Kevin Carter's got the speed to come around the tackle and still put pressure on a quarterback.
And it was Joe Walter who told us yesterday that he was afraid of the arm strength by Kevin Carter, that he would penetrate and really give him problems. So Carter, a big part of that interception by Jenkins, and Walsh's pass falls incomplete. Steve Tovar with a nice play, as that was intended for Aaron Lang, and the crowd wanted pass interference. So 2 turnovers already by both teams. Fumbles and interceptions.
Coaches can't be very happy with the performance thus far with the penalties and the turnovers. They know that they're being a young team, that they have to be able to eliminate those mistakes in order to be successful and be a playoff contending team.
Walsh getting the pressure from the far side. Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson just blindsided him from the right. Dan Walsh is down, getting up very slowly.
Dan Wilkinson is making his presence felt in this game thus far. He takes an outside pass rush on Dwayne White, strong enough just to throw him away, doesn't even slow him down, and he jumps right on top of Walsh. Walsh can't take too many of those shots.
So the sack for Wilkinson puts the Rams back at the 41, 3rd and 18. Less than a minute left. And Walsh over the middle. A flag comes in, incomplete. He wanted Harold Green. As Tony Banks continues to watch very interested from the sidelines. I don't know, Bart. Things not happening with the Rams offense at all here in the first half. I know it hasn't been all Steve Walsh's fault. There have been some pretty good penetration by Cincinnati up front.
Number 90, 5-yard penalty, first down.
As you hear the penalty called on Tim Johnson. But I don't know, if you're Rich Brooks, do you think about making a change, or do you just stay with Steve Walsh?
I think if you're Rich, you got to stay with Steve for right now. You can't, to make a move at this point, it doesn't seem to be the right thing at this point in the game. Steve just hasn't had the time to throw it for the most part.
Well, the Rams take advantage of the Bengal penalty, and now they have 1st down and 10. Ball just across their own 46-yard line. 51 seconds left in the first half. Cincinnati with a 9-7 lead in a game fraught with penalties. Swinging it out to Harold Green, and he slips and falls at the 49. Well, I know one thing, the crowd isn't happy at all with not only Walsh but the entire offense.
Well, Walsh he has to feel good about that. At least he got the ball away without getting pressured.
The Domino's Pizza NFL halftime report. Gumbel, Ditka, Collinsworth, and Gibbs. And make sure you check out Chris Collinsworth's conversation with Jimmy Johnson and the Miami Dolphins. What's your opinion on Jimmy Johnson coming in to coach Miami? And will just the coaching change itself, as you look at Dave Shula, Don's son, but coaching change, or do you think Miami has the kind of players that can make a run early?
I think they're a few players away from making a real legitimate run. There's such a stark contrast in the coaches between Shula and Johnson. Johnson, he's very involved in the yeller, and Shula let his assistants do more of it.
2nd and 7. Walsh this time has time, and that pass is complete to Harold Green once again. And another good gain by Green, who's pushed out of bounds by Francis.
Walsh gets the time to throw it. Instead of going out, they let Green go up the field a little bit instead of just out in the flat, and he picks up a 1st down. They gave him a little bit too much cushion there. At this stage, with this much time in this position in the field, you got to play that guy a little bit tighter. You can't give him 10 yards. and let him go out of bounds.
38 seconds left. Ball at the 41. Walsh, that pass appeared to be tipped at the line of scrimmage and then juggled in the secondary as a couple of Bengals had a chance for it. Steve Tovar appeared to deflect it at the line of scrimmage as Walsh wanted Kennison. Falls incomplete.
The Bengals are doing a good job of pushing the front of the pocket and then getting a hand up there. Tim Johnson looks like he might have originally tipped it at the line of scrimmage, and Steve Tovar almost picks it.
Yeah, it was Tovar getting the second deflection out in the secondary. So now second down and 10, 33 seconds left in the first half. Rams trying to at least get a field goal, which would give them the lead, and it's almost getting comical as another flag comes in.
Number 30, simulated start of a snap. 5-yard penalty, second down.
Harold Green picking up the penalty now.
You know, they're not major penalties for the most part. There's movement here. It's offsides there. It's just a sign of a mentally tired team. Maybe it's they're coming out of training camp. They're a little mentally tired, not real fresh. But obviously, neither coach can be very pleased with these little mistakes, with these penalties that are being called thus far.
And we'll be watching that tally throughout the game. Penalties and yards. Kennison can't hang on to that one. Jimmy Spencer very tight in his coverage. Spencer, another one of the free agent acquisitions for Cincinnati after 4 years with the New Orleans Saints. He comes over, and that was good tight coverage on Kennison.
This Bengal defensive backfield has been substantially upgraded from last year. Bengals felt that was a tremendous weak spot that they had. They made an effort to improve it, and they did with the 3 free agent acquisitions.
It was really a sore spot. The pass defense was last in the AFC last year, and on third down, Walsh has his man near side, Isaac Bruce. And Bruce picks up the first down, and now with 24 seconds left, the Rams on the move for at least a possible field goal.
Big play by Isaac Bruce to be in a position. Not only does he get the first down, but he gets out of bounds. He puts him into field goal position at this point.
Just the second catch for Isaac Bruce. Ball at the 28-yard line of the Bengals. 24 seconds left. Rams with still 2 of their timeouts in this half. Walsh over the middle, and that is incomplete. That was intended for Harold Green, and Steve Tovar, who has really been the heart and soul of the Bengal defense the last few years, with a jarring hit on Green.
He was playing Green tight. He prevented him from gathering the ball in. Good defensive play by Steve Tovar. Isaac Bruce is becoming he's the go-to guy for these guys. Steve Walsh is young. They haven't developed that relationship that you have on the other side of the ball with the Blake and the Pickens. They haven't been under in game-like situations other than the preseason very much. It's going to take some time to develop that kind of relationship.
Second down and 10. Clock winding at 18 seconds, and that just over the mark. Kennison couldn't get up and get that. The clock is stopped with 15 seconds left. Good coverage for Bo Orlando, and there is Chip Lohmiller, the former Washington Redskin, who was signed over from the New Orleans Saints, the field goal kicker for the Rams. And another look at Kennison.
Kennison makes the inside move. We talked about earlier when Steve tends to overstride, he'll throw the ball, he'll overthrow his receivers. Kennison's open here. Steve in that situation needs to hit the wide receiver. It's not a real difficult throw.
A Bengal player is down at the 45-yard line, and that is John Copeland, who missed the last 3 preseason games with a hamstring pull. We'll wait and see if that's another sore point for him right now.
Copeland was a guy that had 9 sacks last year. He's been hurt in the preseason, hasn't played in the preseason. It's difficult to tell exactly what's wrong with him, but he's probably not in real good playing shape at this point, having not played in any preseason games. They've been doing quite a bit of rushing.
Number 1 pick out of Alabama back in '93, and was really hampered by injuries early in his NFL career. Never could really get well physical for a whole season, and maybe with that stretching out of the leg, it might be the hamstring. But John Copeland said last year was the very first time I actually had fun. That was really his breakout year for the Bengals. And talking with Dan Wilkinson yesterday, he says, well, maybe it's my turn for 96. Another look.
It's hard to tell. He reaches up high underneath the glutamus muscle. It's difficult to tell whether it's a cramp and maybe it's a hamstring pull, as you mentioned. It's hard to say at this point. Now he's walking off on his own power. He and Dan Wilkinson pose a very formidable threat on the left defensive side. They're both big, they're tall, they can impede the passing lanes of the quarterback, they can put pressure up the field with their power, and they've got some decent and some good speed to go around the offensive blockers. So with Copeland in there, Dan Wilkinson's a better player. I think he's learned a lot from Dan Wilkinson has learned a lot from John Copeland. He's been able to take his attitude and his work ethic and say, you know, I can enjoy this game too. I can have fun, because the last 2 years, as he told us, he hasn't really enjoyed it. It's been a work for him. It's been an effort.
Well, Chip Lohmiller waiting in the wings for perhaps a field goal try for the Rams. There's just 15 seconds left in this first half. It's 3rd and 10 from the Bengal 28. And the give is to Harold Green. He'll go nowhere, and apparently the Rams just think he can get it in position for Chip Lohmiller in the middle of the field. And they'll take some time off the clock, run it down to 5 seconds, and on will come Chip Lohmiller.
Well, the Rams have the luxury of calling a timeout in this situation.
It also gives us an opportunity to talk about the tenuous snapping that has been happening for the Rams in the preseason.
Well, Coach Brooks announced Friday that a rookie, Jesse James, offensive guard.
And that is the correct name, folks. There he is, number 69, Jesse James.
Go ahead and say it.
No, I won't. I'm leaving that tidbit for you, Bart.
No, I won't say it either.
But they tried 5 different snappers in the preseason, including Jesse James. All at one point or another had a bad snap. We talked to Chip on the field here earlier before the game, and he said it has been an adventure.
Well, it's not only the snapper, but it's also the holder.
Keith Lyle is the holder. Yes, Lyle is the starting free safety, so that's how desperate they've been at the holding position as well. This will be a 45-yard attempt for Lohmiller. Snap appeared to be good, so did the hold. And the kick is no good.
He pushed it a little bit wide right.
So after all the talk about the snapper and the holder, it appeared that Chip Lohmiller just plain missed it, but it was from 45 yards out.
It looked like Jesse James did a good job, and Corey Sawyer did a good job.
Halftime, Cincinnati with a 9-7 lead. Let's go to our studios and Greg Gumbel. Halftime in St. Louis as the Cincinnati Bengals get 3 field goals from Doug Pelfrey to take a 9-7 lead over the Rams. Dan Hicks back with Bart Oates, and you hate to talk about the story of the game in the first half when it's turnovers and penalties, but that's exactly what it's been like. It has not been pretty, as Kajana Carter and Lawrence Phillips, the premier backs who we expected more out of, have not been able to get it going as well.
Yeah, it's been very sloppy play on both sides of the ball, particularly by the offenses. Got a lot of offsides. The number of penalties, not so much the yards, it's the number of penalties that prevents a team from getting any sort of sync into a rhythm to march down the field and sustain drives. These little things prevent them from doing that, and they've got to improve on it this second half.
Something has to give, because these offense really aren't that bad as we take a look at the Coors Light halftime stats. Both of the turnovers by the Rams were turned in by their rookies, Lawrence Phillips, who fumbled on the very first possession, and Jeff Blake has been involved in both turnovers for the Bengals, one a fumbled exchange and the other one an interception. Other than that, it's been pretty evenly played.
Yeah, the yards are pretty similar. They have a lot of the same stats when it comes to the rushing. One thing that you'd note is both coaches told us they want to establish a running game. And they've had to go away from that because neither have been successful in running the ball consistently against the other's defense.
Well, the injury report for the Bengals not good up front either. John Copeland, who hobbled off the field in the second quarter, a strained hamstring, and he is doubtful that he'll be back as the Bengals take the opening kickoff. David Dunn with another good return across the 40-yard line. And so the Bengals will open up with good field position to begin their second half.
We've seen some good special teams, some good returns by the special teams. It starts here in the first half where we have the same thing.
Todd Light ran him out of bounds. And here comes Jeff Blake. And the numbers for Jeff in the first half, we mentioned the interception, 13 of 22 for 120 yards.
Well, I'm sure they're a little disappointed thus far with the completion percentage. He was doing a good job. They'd like to see that completion percentage a little bit higher.
At the 45, the Bengals begin their second half. And they'll begin it on the ground with Kajana Carter, who absolutely goes nowhere. And in fairness to him, Bart, he hasn't had a lot of room to run. Remember, Garrison Hurst has not seen any action the entire first half.
Well, Coach Kozlet told us, the offensive coordinator, told us that he's not real familiar with what they're trying to do now. They have a few running plays, but the blitz pickups and all the other things that go into knowing the offense he's not familiar with or comfortable with.
Well, speak of Garrison Hurst, Kajana Carter goes out. And now we get a chance to see the man that rushed for over 1,000 yards for the Cardinals last year. Everybody shocked, including Carter and Hurst themselves, that he was brought in.
And the result is not much different.
And you can change the running backs, pay him huge money, but if you don't get any kind of holes up front, they're not going to go anywhere. Well, so look at Garrison Hurst and the career numbers for him. He was the number 3 pick overall by Arizona back in '93, and there's the inexperienced line up front coming into the day. 121 career starts for Walter. The rest of the offensive line combined 2.
Essentially, the middle 3 guys are rookies, and they're going against some very good defensive linemen.
Hurst remains in the backfield. Play action to him, and Blake swings it out to Carl Pickens, spins his way into Rams territory, but he'll be short of the first down. And that will bring up 4th down, and the Bengals will punt.
The Rams know where the first down mark is. They're going to give him the short passes underneath, and then they're going to tackle him before he's able to get the first down. Carl makes a good effort, but the Rams are there to prevent him from getting that first down.
Lee Johnson into punt for Cincinnati. And back deep is Eddie Kennison, who had, you mentioned the special teams play, Bart. It was Kennison with a nice 40-yard punt return that set up the Rams' first score, which led to the Lawrence Phillips 1-yard plunge and a touchdown. That one being angled out of bounds by Lee Johnson, who's one of the best in the business at that. And we'll see where they mark it, just at about the 10-yard line. The crowd doesn't like that. So that's where the Rams will begin when we come back.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Nissan, who reminds you that life is a journey. Enjoy the ride. By UPS, the official package delivery company of the NFL. By Reebok, are you prepared to say, "This is my planet"? And by Nicotrol, 6 weeks, 1 step. Take control with Nicotrol.
St. Louis begins all the way back at its 10-yard line, and Walsh handing off left side to Lawrence Phillips just across the 15-yard line. Tim Johnson makes the stop up front, but you see number 79 there, Ramondo Stallings. He is now on the defensive front for Cincinnati, replacing John Copeland, once again out with a hamstring pull, the same injury that prevented him from playing the preseason in its entirety. So a 5-yard gain for Phillips, 2nd down and 5. And Phillips this time nowhere to go. Phillips just 22 yards on 8 carries in the first half. And the other big running back coming into this game, Kajana Carter, the number 1 pick last year, just 12 yards on 10 attempts. But Bart, you attribute part of that to good defensive line play up front by both teams?
Yeah, I think both teams are playing pretty good defensive front. the Bengals are normally a what we call a 4-3 front where the center is uncovered. Today, they're covering the center quite a bit and trying to put some pressure on the young guy, Mike Guduranda.
Walsh rolling to his right. Net ball is intercepted by Ashley Ambrose.
Ashley did a good job of laying off the receiver, keeping pace with him, making Steve Walsh think that Isaac Bruce was open. And then when he threw the ball, he made the break on it. Terrific play by Ashley Ambrose.
Working on Kennison. Stepping right in front. Third turnover of the ball game for the Rams. And the secondary for the Bengals paying off as Ambrose picks off his first of 96. 3 of his 5 career interceptions came in the last 3 months last year. And he sets up Cincinnati at good field position at the 23 of St. Louis. Blake over the middle. Tony McGee. Incomplete. As you take a look at Tony Banks, the crowd not liking what they've seen at all from Steve Walsh in the early moments of this third quarter as well as the first half.
Well, Tony's still standing there. He's not. He doesn't have a ball. He's not warming up. So he hasn't been. Evidently, has not been given any indication that he's going to go in. It's hard to say whether that interception was Steve's fault or Kennison, because he didn't come back to the ball either.
Second down and 10. Carter. Inside the 18-yard line. That'll bring up third down. Anthony Parker, the right cornerback, making the stop for the Rams.
Probably the best hole that they've given the running backs today. They knocked Leslie O'Neal outside. It opens up the lane for Kajana Carter to run in.
Carter told us it has been a long time since I've gone 4 quarters. The last time he did that for real, the Rose Bowl, back in 1995 when he rushed for 156 yards. Blake quick back, and it's complete. Darnay Scott, and that'll be good enough for the first down.
Rich Braham there, the center, did a good job of preventing DeMarco Farr from hitting Blake. Had a little problem with the snap earlier, but he was alert enough there to come back when Scott Brumfield gets beat by DeMarco, just shoving him enough to keep him from hitting Blake and allowing Blake to hit the pass.
First and goal for the Bengals. They have a 9-7 lead, trying to add to it. With 10:28 left in the third quarter, Kajana Carter on the sweep. Gets nowhere. Robert Jones, number 55, a former Cowboy, a part of that stop.
As you mentioned earlier, Robert Jones has gotten 3 Super Bowl rings in the 4 years that he's played with the Cowboys. He's a valued addition to this defensive front. Coach Brooks says while Robert Jones is not a great middle linebacker, but he's a good linebacker. He does what they need him to do in this defense.
Second down and goal. Blake near side, complete to Carter. And Carter quickly thrown out of bounds at about the 6-yard line by Carlos Jenkins, and that'll bring up third down and goal from the 6.
They're still continuing that trend of hitting those quick passes on the outside to the running back. The problem is that Blake is not hitting these guys in stride. These running backs are juggling the ball. They're having to turn for the ball. So they can't just catch it in stride and keep running. They've got to slow down, catch the ball, and then run, and then that gives the defense time to catch up.
Blake back in the end zone. Touchdown, Cincinnati, Darnay Scott.
That's what Cincinnati likes to do. They like to get Jeff Blake back there. They like to give him some room to throw. And he hits one of his 2 favorite targets. For a change, it looks like the offensive line gave Jeff some good time and allowed him to see what was developing in the defensive backfield.
And Pelfrey with the extra point gives Cincinnati a 16-7 lead as Darnay Scott hauls in the 6-yard touchdown pass from Blake. First touchdown of the season for the Cincinnati Bengals. 3 field goals by Pelfrey and the touchdown for the 9-point lead. Steve Walsh evidently will remain the quarterback for the St. Louis Rams. He took less money to start here than to back up Dan Marino in Miami and play for his old college coach, Jimmy Johnson. But he wanted an opportunity to start, an opportunity to play, and it's here in St. Louis.
Well, they're giving him the opportunity. He's not making the most of that situation right now. Granted, it's not entirely his fault.
Andrew Lang takes the kickoff from Johnson, which was a low squib down the middle. So the Rams will get good field position across the 40 for Walsh. So here he comes again, just the first time in his career that he has opened an NFL season as the starter, and the numbers for him 7 of 23 in the interception that we just saw, which resulted in the Bengal touchdown.
Coach Brooks, he mentioned to us he had a good quarterback rate in the preseason, but then he also said, but that's the preseason.
And more flags come in.
The theme of the first half is continuing. Somebody moved and somebody points.
Prior to the snap, false start on number 61 offense. 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
Vern Brostick, the left guard, normally the center up front for the Rams, but Mike Grudadoria, who was so impressive in the preseason, taking that job.
Well, one thing they seem to be doing is they seem to be spreading these penalties out amongst themselves pretty evenly.
Well, there's the latest update, Bart. 10 for 56. Walsh to the air, complete at midfield. Eddie Kennison puts a pretty nice move on Jimmy Spencer and picks up the first down. And that's what got him the first down, was that spin move by Kennison.
Very good run after the play, after the catch. Walsh needs this. I mean, he's reeling a little bit. He's not completing too many passes. It's a fairly high percentage pass when they're playing off of him. Kennison's got that quickness where Jimmy Spencer has to protect the deep angle.
Kennison, the 18th pick overall in the NFL draft, the 3rd wide receiver chosen. Starting for the injured Alexander Wright. Walsh going downfield to Isaac Bruce, and a struggle there with Ashley Ambrose. No call. And Ambrose is still down.
Well, Walsh predetermined that he was going to go up top to Bruce here.
And this again, Bart, not one of his strengths, going downfield.
Could have been a second interception for Ashley. You've got to say that this defensive backfield for the Cincinnati Bengals is paying off immediate returns.
Well, hopefully when we come back, we'll get a word on the injured Ashley Ambrose. We'll be right back. 8.5 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. The Bengals with a 16-7 lead over the Rams, but St. Louis driving in Bengal territory. Steve Walsh looking for a receiver and finds one, and he's Harold Green, who's close to the first down at the 37-yard line. Steve Tovar, very active for the Bengals, makes the stop on Green.
Good pickup. Steve Walsh moves around a little bit in the pocket. He still keeps his shoulders square to the line of scrimmage, which allows him to go to a secondary target there, who is Harold Green, and then make a good pickup. Gives him a short 3rd down.
3rd down and just about one. Ashley Ambrose, by the way, is back in the ball game after missing just one play after having the wind knocked out of him, as 4 flags come in. All along the line of scrimmage. Somebody moved. Who was it, Howard?
Encroachment, number 90 on the defense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Tim Johnson.
Got a little voice inflection by the quarterback, it looks like, and Tim playing right over the center, trying to make that penetration. push the center back. Winds up being a little too aggressive, jumping off sides.
So the first down for the Rams at the 33. And another fumble exchange by Walsh and Gruda-Doria, but it appeared Walsh may have been quick enough to get on that. And he does recover. Mike Gruda-Doria, again playing in his very first NFL game, starts at the center position. See if we can detect what happened.
Well, Mike Gruda-Doria is a real good story if you like underdogs. Here's a guy that's a free agent pick for Cowboys last year, and this year he's in the starting lineup at center.
Rich Brooks says he was the biggest surprise on the offensive line all season, or all preseason.
Said he had the best preseason of any of his offensive linemen.
Walsh somehow escapes 4 Bengal defensive players and picks up the first down at the 19.
Good penetration by the Bengals front. Dan Wilkinson should have had the sack. He didn't wrap up. Steve Walsh, who is not known for being evasive or elusive, ducks the sack, says, I'm running with this thing, and picks up a first down, gets inside the 20-yard line. He's now in what we call the red zone of the Bengals.
Gain of 13 for Walsh.
Longest run of the day for the Rams, isn't it?
As you take a look at other scores, Oakland with a 14-13 lead. Rams trying to get back in this one. Lawrence Phillips fumbles the football, but I believe they might mark him down before the fumble. He appeared to have a knee down around the line of scrimmage.
He did, but you didn't hear the whistle.
You didn't hear it. You're right.
You see that the official throws a hat on the field there on the 15-yard line, which indicates it was a fumble. He doesn't see much when he gets up there. He's definitely down.
Definitely down.
But was he down from contact is the point. It looks like he was trying to be evasive and just fell, which isn't down on in NFL standards. It is on college level, but not in the NFL.
So it's a decent gain. The ball's at the 16 now, 2nd and 7. Walsh is nailed from behind by number 50, James Francis.
Well, Lawrence Phillips plays a critical element in this play as well. Lawrence Phillips looks like he has a responsibility for picking up Francis. On the right side of your screen, he tries to cut Francis, doesn't get it. Francis comes right in on Walsh, makes a big sack on the 3rd down. In that situation, he's got to stay up and stay with the linebacker. He can't just go for the cut.
So now 3rd down and 16. A flag comes flying in as Walsh runs for his life again and just throws it away. And Ambrose almost had his hands on the football again for another interception. But flags are down.
Actually, he's touched more passes of Steve Walsh's than any of the Rams receivers, I think.
Preliminary indication is against the Rams. Walsh out of breath. He's been on the run for almost this entire series.
Officials are there for a conference, wanting to regroup. And you hear the chant.
Illegal motion, number 30 on the offense. Penalties decline. Brings up 4th down.
Harold Green.
It's just these types of mistakes that prevent a team. They're moving the ball nicely. They've got a good drive going. It's these little mistakes that's difficult to overcome. Now it doesn't affect the play because it's an incomplete pass, almost interception. But continually, it just doesn't allow the team to get into the kind of rhythm that you need to get into as an offense to be effective and score touchdowns.
So here comes Chip Lohmiller again to attempt another field goal. Remember, he missed earlier. This one from 42 yards out. Snap and hold is good. And this time, Lohmiller puts it through. 4:45 left in the 3rd. The lead is cut to 16-10. Well, right now they're chanting to the Macarena, but a moment ago, Bart, it was The fans chanting Tony Banks, Tony Banks. They want to see the rookie in place of Steve Walsh. But the Rams did get a field goal out of it. They trail 16-10, and that is an excellent kickoff by Chip Lohmiller. And that is down to the end zone, so the Bengals will bring it out to the 20-yard line.
Well, the number 2 guy is always going to be the guy that the fans want when the guy that's in there is not doing it. So it's a little bit fickle. It's certainly too early in the season to create that kind of controversy that would occur if he does put in Tony Banks. It may happen, but the ramifications will create a lot of ink because of it.
Tony Banks has a rocket arm. There's just no comparing the arm strength between the two, but here comes Cincinnati. And the quick pitch outside to Garrison Hurst. And Hurst with a little more running room this time. But as we mentioned earlier, Bart, everyone, including Carter and Hurst themselves, wondering how in the world Garrison Hurst ended up on this roster when you knew Kajana Carter would be back from the knee injury.
Well, the Bengals, which have notoriously been known as a team that wasn't willing to pay its players, people were surprised that they went out and spent $2 million on a guy that's going to be a backup. And here's a guy that went for over 1,000 yards last year.
Carter says what that tells me is they still have doubts about me coming back strong as Hurst carries again. And this time he's up to about the 27-yard line. But he also told us, Kajana Carter did, well, that just gives me more motivation to prove that I am back and that I have not lost a step at all after the torn anterior cruciate ligament in his left knee in the preseason last year, which came in just the 3rd carry of the preseason.
And he wasn't even hit. He came on just an implanted.
So out goes Hurst, and in comes Carter on 3rd down and 3. More movement up front. DeMarco Farr comes across the line for the Rams and says, I was drawn off.
Well, Jeff Cothran moved a little bit in the backfield.
Prior to the snap, number 29 false start. Simulated the start of a snap. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
And often the running back cannot do that. He looks and says, oh, I know I made a mistake. I can't do those types of things.
Cothran, a 3rd-round draft pick out of Ohio State.
You go from a 3rd and short now to a 3rd and long. This is what you can do.
Blake holds on to it. The last second, Carl Pickens had a shot at it. But Toby Wright was back there.
It almost looked like Tony McGee wanted to catch that one. Looked like it almost went through Tony's hands, or at least he thought it was for him initially. Leslie O'Neal makes a good, powerful pass rush against Tootin, giving him problems.
You're right through the hands of Tony McGee. That was hard.
Well, he goes up for it, but then he pulls his hands down, realizing it wasn't intended for him. There's an alert move by Tony, and Carl almost makes the reception.
So the veteran Lee Johnson in his 12th year out of Brigham Young.
BYU.
I knew he had to get that.
It's
going to be blocked.
Special teams. The Rams come through with a big play at this time. Right up the middle.
Antonio Goss.
Recent pickup off waiver wire from San Francisco. He's been at San Francisco for 9 years, primarily because of his special teams abilities. He was the captain in San Francisco on that special teams for about 9 years. They put him on waivers. I think they wanted to pass him through. The Rams like Antonio Goss and what he brings to the special teams, and here he's paying off dividends immediately.
Goss with a big block. Walsh lofting this one to the corner of the end zone where no one is there, and the fans will let him have it over that. Whether it was miscommunication between Walsh and his receiver or what, there's Lee Johnson, who's still trying to recover after the block kick by Goss.
Well, it wasn't Lee's fault. He had nowhere to go. I mean, Antonio comes right up the middle, It looks like the protection broke down completely because there were 3 or 4 guys in the backfield. They definitely had a go on that block, on attempted block punt. Nobody touched Antonio. He comes in there and makes a nice block, gives the Rams terrific field position. Now we'll see if the Rams can capitalize on it. They haven't been able to.
Walsh rolling to his right, pass complete inside the 5-yard line. It's Isaac Bruce. And they're not booing now, they're saying Bruce.
Well, when they need a play, they're very comfortable in going to Isaac Bruce. He came through last year, as you mentioned, had the 2nd highest total of anybody in the history of the NFL. Jerry Rice also broke that record last year that has been around for about 25 years.
He set 6 team records in all and really emerged out of nowhere to become one of the elite wide receivers in the NFL. 3rd down and 3 from the 8. And to give up the middle, Harold Green close to the 5-yard line.
Hey, you're
Artie
there.
Smith from his defensive end spot made the stop for Cincinnati.
They need to get to the 5-yard line to get a 1st down. They run a simple draw up the middle. Offensive linemen just match up with the defensive guys. As long as they stay on them and get a little push there, they can pick up a couple of yards and get close to the 1st down.
I believe they are just short, but it is very close. And they'll come out to measure. Couldn't help but pick up Wayne Gandy, the left tackle. Oh, we got it. You got to stay out there. We got the 1st down, but
let's go Zach Weigert back out too. This gives
just short
Brooks some time to make a decision. It's 4th down now. Do you close the gap to 3, or do you go for the touchdown for the potential tie?
That is such a short piece of yardage. I would think you'd have to go for it.
It's so short and yet so far. Sometimes it's those short ones where the defense is just going to jam up the middle, push back your defensive guys, your offensive linemen. But sometimes it's the hardest yard to pick up or the hardest inch to pick up.
Well, they're going to go for it on 4th down and inches. Well, they need to just cross inside the 5-yard line, and they'll have the 1st down and goal. And do they sneak it over? It would appear they had the momentum for the 1st down.
They got the 1st down.
And they got it. So 1st and goal for St. Louis.
An interesting defense here is they left the center uncovered, whereas all game, or for the most part, the Bengals have been covering the 3 inside guys. Here in a situation where you think you would want to be most solid in the middle from a defensive front, they leave one of the guys uncovered. A little surge is all you need there to pick up an inch, and when your center's not covered, it's easy for him to go forward.
Lawrence Phillips back in the backfield for St. Louis. He has scored his team's only touchdown. It came way back in the 1st quarter, and he gets another chance down to the 3-yard line. Orlando came in from his free safety position to put the hit on Phillips.
Initially, it looked like he was going to have a hole there. Tim Johnson slipped through there and made a nice ankle tackle, and Bo Orlando finished him off.
Lawrence Phillips, 6 feet, 230 pounds.
It's important for the Rams to score here. They've got to get something established. They're deep in territory. Got the 1st down. They need to capitalize.
2nd and goal from the 4. And once again, Lawrence Phillips. He may get down to the 1-yard line, and that'll bring up 3rd down and goal. So Lawrence Phillips isn't finding a lot of running room out there.
Picking up some positive yards. He's not losing yards anyway.
Well, Harold Green is checked back into the lineup as Lawrence Phillips comes off the field.
Harold Green is their 3rd down back. He's the guy that's going to come in there on the 3rd down.
No time left as the 3rd quarter expires. St. Louis threatening to take the lead over the Bengals. Dan Hicks and Bart Oates back for the start of the 4th quarter in St. Louis. The Rams threatening a touchdown here. 3rd and goal. Ball is at the 2-yard line. Walsh takes the quick drop back, flags come in as it's incomplete.
There the defensive line gets that hand up again.
Steve Tovar in there very quickly on Walsh.
Cincinnati says they like that.
And the call against Rich Brooks' team.
Pass interference, number 86 on the offense. That penalty's declined. Brings up 4th down.
So Aaron Lang flagged for interference.
Well, probably running a little pick in there to open up one of the receivers, and he didn't run the right technique.
So in comes Chip Lohmiller, 1 for 2 in field goal attempts today. Missed earlier from 44, made a 42-yarder in the 3rd quarter to bring the margin to 16-10. And now trying to bring St. Louis within 3. This will be a chip shot from 20. And Chip has the chip shot. 16-13. The Rams creeping ever closer to the Bengals. Start of the 4th quarter in St. Louis. A reminder coming up next, most of you will see the New England Patriots travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins. The head coaching debut for Jimmy Johnson in Miami as the Patriots try to rebound from last year's poor season. Kenny Anderson with Eric Wilhelm on his right, Jeff Blake on his left. Looks a little like Phil Simms, Wilhelm does, doesn't he, Bart? You ought to know that.
He's got that blonde hair, although he looks like he's a pretty good athlete, so it can't be Phil Simms.
Chip Lohmiller, who just brought the Rams within 3 with a field goal, kicks another nice one down by David Dunn in the end zone. And that's the 2nd time Lohmiller has forced Cincinnati to start from its 20 without a return.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by the car you can depend on, the 1996 Mitsubishi Galant. By AT&T, your true choice. And by McDonald's Arch Deluxe. It's the burger with a grown-up taste.
Welcome back to St. Louis. Dan Hicks and Bart Oates. And the Bengals with a 16-13 lead over the Rams. Opening seconds of this 4th quarter. Cincinnati begins 1st and 10 from its 20. They have not scored since early in the 3rd quarter, and this is the loudest we've heard this crowd in a long time. Jeff Blake steps up, wide open. Darnay Scott on the loose, spinning and turning all the way to the 47-yard line for a Bengals 1st down. It was Darnay Scott who hauled in the 6-yard touchdown pass from Blake for the Bengals' only touchdown of the game, and this was a big game.
Blake has such a strong arm. There's a long pass right over the middle. He throws it on the rope. Good catch by Darnay Scott. As good as Darnay Scott is at catching the ball, he might even be better running after the catch.
And that's what gives him that huge yards per catch average, 15.8 last year. That was 2nd best in the AFC, and that one was good for 27 yards as Kajana Carter sweeps left.
The Rams string it out, prevent any kind of holes from developing, playing pretty good team defense.
Roman Pfeiffer, who led the Rams with a career-high 149 tackles last year. That was the 2nd highest total in Rams history.
Roman Pfeiffer, named after the former Rams quarterback, Roman Gabriel, has an interesting middle name too. Zabrinsky,
that his father found out of the phone book, I believe. And this time Blake just throwing it away. Carl Pickens was out there, and maybe Blake was anticipating Carl going out instead of in.
Had the pass rush, good penetration by the Rams, had a blitz coming. Robert Jones, thing they like about Robert Jones is he can bring the blitz. He blitzes better than the guy they had last year, Shane Conley. He's a good, solid defender, but he can move around a little bit better than what Shane could do. And here he brings that pressure.
We were talking earlier, though, about how hard Shane Conlon could hit. He just jarred every bone in your body when he made the hit. But Robert Jones has his spot in the Rams linebacking core this year. Blake going downfield to Scott, and this will be intercepted. Keith Lyle. Across the 35. Changes his direction, still on his feet. Across the 50. 40. Carl Pickens will finally drag him down at the 33.
I'll tell you, I saw one of the best downfield blocks I've ever seen. Jimmy Jones absolutely nails Tony McGee. Tony's just now getting up, walking off the field. Terrific return. Blake just throws it up in the middle of the field. Keith Lyle runs under it like a punt. Keith Lyle, who's a holder on the extra points and field goals, catches it. Oh, there in the corner, you see the shot. Oh, my.
I don't even think McGee really had a shot at Lyle, but nevertheless, it was the pancake of the game so far.
McGee's over on the sideline saying right now, where am I? What is my name? And what am I doing here?
Well, Blake and Pickens have combined on some touchdowns. They combined on that tackle way downfield, and now the Rams set up at the Bengal 32-yard line. Walsh, feeling the pressure from the backside, gets rid of it.
Smart play by Walsh. Smart play. There's nothing out there. There's nobody open. He has a little bit of time because he rolls out. Sees nothing's there. He feels a little pressure. Instead of taking the sack, he's going to just throw it away.
A 58-yard interception return for Keith Lyle, and after that run, you do need some oxygen.
I bet he ran closer to 90 yards.
You're right. It goes in the books as 58, but he ran about 158.
He's taking some oxygen there.
Second down and 10 from the 33. Walsh has not had a lot of time. This time he'll hand off to Phillips. Steve Tovar quickly there to meet him.
Steve sniffs out this play in a heartbeat. Makes the penetration. It's a little lead draw. There's nothing there. Good reaction.
Tovar missed only 2 starts last year, despite breaking both hands, and he also had arthroscopic knee surgery. He started 9 days after the surgery.
That's a tough guy right there.
3rd and 10. Walsh will get the first down, complete at the 18-yard line. Jimmy Spencer drags down Eddie Kennison, but not before another big game for St. Louis.
Eddie Kennison looks extremely comfortable on the football field. He looks like a natural, like he's been out there for a long time. He's running his routes. He's patient there. Just waits. Spencer's right there with him. A well-thrown ball by Steve Walsh. Kennison makes it a pretty good catch there. That's well defended.
1st and 10 for the Rams on the march. Trying to take advantage of the huge interception. They trail at 16-13. Walsh to the air again. Kennison with it again. Stretching down close to the 10-yard line. Jimmy Spencer once again on the coverage, along with Ricardo McDonald, who helped out on the tackle. But Kennison is racking up some pretty good yards, Bart.
I think it's obvious at this standpoint that Walsh feels a little more comfortable in going to the rookie Kennison than he does to the veteran receiver, Isaac Bruce.
Kennison with blinding speed. 4.3 speed. Lawrence Phillips looking for a hole inside the 10, and that'll bring a 3rd down and a couple. Ramondo Stallings was there to break that one down.
Lawrence originally thinks he's got something outside. He stumbles a little bit on the turf. We talked a little bit. It's a new turf. It's a little sticky in some spots. Sometimes it takes turf, playing on it for a while before it starts to feel more comfortable, more natural.
And there is Stallings right next to John Copeland. Remember, Stallings replaced Copeland out with a hamstring. Crucial down here, 3rd and 2 from the 10 for the Rams. We'll try to get it on the ground. Harold Green will be stopped short of it. Good penetration by the Bengals, and out comes Lohmiller for another field goal attempt, and once again the Rams will have to settle for another field goal.
The Rams running game is not, just doesn't look sharp. Doesn't look like guys are sustaining their blocks. Doesn't look like they're staying on the defensive guys. You see too many missed blocks.
This will be a 29-yard attempt by Lohmiller. And he's got it. And with 9:18 left, the Rams have come back from a 16-7 deficit to tie it up at 16 all on a couple of Lohmiller field goals.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Domino's Pizza. Call now and enjoy a hot, delicious Domino's Pizza during the game. For Hot and Wow, call Domino's now.
3 straight field goals by Chip Lohmiller has tied this one up at 16, back deep for the Bengals. David Dunn and Corey Sawyer, and this will be handled by Dunn. Knocked back at the 15. Ball is on the ground. The Rams say they have it.
The ball just flew right up in the air.
That's Jermaine Ross, who appears to have recovered for St. Louis. There's been no indication from an official yet.
Officials are conferencing. Howard Rose talking to Ron Botcham. The ball obviously flew up in the air prior to the man going down. I think they have a question as to whose ball it is.
Fumble recovered by St. Louis. First down.
Now it's official.
They just needed to get together a conference over that.
That is an excellent pop.
Helmet goes right on the ball.
Keith Crawford unloads on Dunn.
The ball, as soon as he hits, Dunn turns around and looks. I mean, feels the ball goes right up in the air. Well, it looks like it almost have been fair caught.
Jermaine Ross.
Being in the right place at the right time.
And St. Louis in good field position again. Lawrence Phillips nowhere to go on the right side. Heads up the middle for a couple. Tim Johnson brings him down, but the Cincinnati Bengals self-destructing. 2 interceptions thrown by Blake. 2 fumbles as well.
The turnovers are hurting them, no doubt. Lawrence has nothing to the right where he wants to go, and then he stops and cups back and picks up 3 yards going back the other way. A smart move. You'd like to see it be a little more fluid rather than just stopping and going, starting over again.
Second down and a long 3. Walsh playing some fake, rolls out. Isaac Bruce has it. Stumbles just inside the 10-yard line. He will be short of the first down. Tovar brought him down.
A little naked bootleg here. Showing something different. Get the defense pursuing to the right of the offense. Steve Walsh throws a little naked bootleg.
Tied at 16.
Now we have another critical 3rd down situation deep in the Bengals territory. The Bengals have been very good about keeping them out of the end zone.
Ball at the 9. They need 4 yards for a first down. Walsh lofting it up towards Isaac Bruce, and a flag comes in. Ashley Ambrose might have been called for interference. He's had a couple of very tight coverage plays in this game earlier, and finally the officials may have thought, well, we've had enough of that.
Well, he's been playing very aggressive. I don't know if the ball was catchable, quite frankly.
Pass interference. Number 33 in the end zone. By rule, spot the ball on the 1-yard line. First down.
Isaac Bruce got the call. Ashley Ambrose was pressing his luck a little bit too much. It did look like he put his hand on him.
So the Rams with 1st and goal at the 1. Lawrence Phillips will get the ball. Jumping over in for the touchdown, his 2nd of the game.
Well, the Rams they took advantage of the turnover here, converting it to a touchdown. The Bengals have to be very disappointed. You can't continually put your defense in a position where they're on deep in their territory defending.
Lawrence Phillips with his 2nd 1-yard touchdown plunge of the game. This in the 4th quarter, the other in the 1st, and Chip Lohmiller punches it through. And the Rams have scored 16 unanswered points. Fumble on the last kickoff to him by Chip Lohmiller, and he'll bring this one out. This time he holds on to it and gets it close to the 20-yard line. In the lineup for Cincinnati on the offensive line, Scott Brumfield is in at the left guard position, replacing the rookie out of Kansas, Rod Jones, who suffered a contusion on his right leg. So the Bengals continuing to shuffle their offensive line up front.
Well, injuries are going to dictate that. Scott Brumfield is the biggest guy on this Bengal roster. Another former BYU Cougar.
Oh, another opportunity for you, Bart, to
never pass
the
it up.
blue and white colors of the Cougars.
Yeah, for long I might be singing the song.
Well, they're bringing this one back as a flag flew.
It flew, but it got picked up pretty quick.
So David Dunn will get another opportunity.
They're going to kick it from the 25, bringing it back 5 yards.
So the call against St. Louis, it was a holding penalty. So Lohmiller will go back to the 25.
Good high kick.
A little confusion between Corey Sawyer and David Dunn before Dunn picks it up. But Corey Sawyer was drifting back with Dunn, and it was going to be you got it, I got it, and then no one had it.
Well, they were both saying you've got it. It looks like. Well, one guy in that situation has to take charge, and he has to be the guy who says it's my ball when it's close. He's got to be aggressive. Luckily, it comes right back into his hands. The Rams are fortunate there. Even though they kicked off from the 25, they still have him inside the Bengals' 20-yard line.
David Dunn had a great year last year for the Bengals in kickoff return yards. It was the 3rd most in Bengals history, but he has had a time of it today. Blake goes down and fumbles it. And it's recovered by the Rams at the 6.
Oh, my.
Kevin Carter.
As we mentioned earlier, Joe Walters said Kevin Carter used his hands as good as anybody. Came around. Blake couldn't pull the ball in. He's got it in his right hand. Kevin just knocks it out.
And Leslie O'Neal falls on top of it. But a great play by Kevin Carter.
Too many mistakes. Critical. I mean, just deep in their own territory. Turnovers. This is how the Rams won their games initially last year in September. They got all those turnovers.
Nightmare opener so far for the Bengals. Greg Robinson stacked up behind the line of scrimmage. Ramondo Stallings in there again. But 5 turnovers for the Bengals. 3 for the Rams, and you see what the Rams have turned into points. Lohmiller's got 3 field goals in the second half, and the Dunn fumble turned into the Phillips touchdown. And as we mentioned going to break previously, 16 unanswered points by the Rams, and they're on the verge of more here as the Bengals have another down player, and that's Dan Wilkinson, number 99. Copeland already out. Big Daddy slow in getting up.
The Rams defense has done a pretty good job. I mean, even though the offense and special teams have put them in some really bad situations, they've done a good job of, for the most part, keeping them out of the end zone except for that last turnover.
Well, tonight it's an all-new Dateline Sunday. Then it's must-see TV with Third Rock from the Sun and Boston Common in their new Sunday night slots. That's all coming up tonight on NBC, beginning with Dateline Sunday. And there's the defensive unit you were talking about, Bart. Rich Brooks says my defensive line is one of the best in the NFL. He had the confidence to tell us that a couple of days ago.
He said that there isn't a better defensive line in the league. He says once you get past his initial starters, he's not real good, but his front four, he thinks he'd stack up against anybody in the league.
Well, that is good news. Big Daddy up on his own power, walking off to the sidelines.
This is a weakness you find with free agency, caused by free agency. A lot of teams don't have the backups that they would have under other conditions when there wasn't free agency, because they could stockpile guys. Now teams are very thin. You get past your initial starters, and most coaches will lament that they just don't have the guys they feel comfortable with.
Walsh, well, Harold Green had no shot at it. It was good coverage by Gerald Dixon, but that'll bring up third down.
Gerald Dixon, the free agent acquisition during the offense, is going to come in and help. He's not starting, but he's going to help this defense.
Coming over from Baltimore this year. Got a career high 79 tackles last year. When we say Baltimore, we of course mean Cleveland.
He never went to Baltimore. He got off the boat.
And the give to Harold Green, and he's inside the 5-yard line. So Lohmiller will come out again on 4th down to attempt another field goal.
The Rams aren't comfortable with moving guys around a lot. Here's just a base blocking play. Gives Harold Green a little seam. He takes it, picks up some positive yards. That's all you need down there. But then again, it's not enough, and they've got to go for another field goal. Under the circumstances, you have to say that the Bengals defense has done thus far a very good job.
But Lohmiller just keeps tacking on field goal after field goal. 4 for the game, and they've all come in the second half. That one good from 21 yards out, and Jeff Blake and the Bengals are shaking their heads, wondering what went wrong. That right there is the story of the game. 26 points the Rams have turned off of the turnovers, 5 by Cincinnati. And even though the Rams haven't been able to get into the end zone, except for a couple of times, they keep racking up the Lohmiller field goals, and that is good for the 26-16 lead. Corey Sawyer takes it out this time for the Bengals, and Sawyer with a pretty good return out close to the 25.
Held on to the ball. They have the ball, right? They've got to do something here. The Bengals offense has the potential for hitting, but they can't turn the ball over. They've got to get some first downs here, get back into the flow of the game. They're not completely out of it. There's plenty of time left, even though they're down by 10. But they've got to make something positive happen here.
So Dunn and Sawyer survive that kickoff return and head to the sidelines. And now Dave Shula really needs his offense with 5:15 left here to drive down and score if they're to stay in it. 19 unanswered points by the Rams. wide open in the flats. Collared at the 31-yard line is Carter. And that was Carlos Jenkins who put the clothesline on him.
Good pursuit by the Rams defenders there.
Gain of 6.
Give them a few yards.
There are the 19 unanswered points by the Rams. Flags come in. Stop this play.
Rams are going to the hurry-up offense.
Prior to the snap, false start on number 66 offense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
Well, there's the other rookie, Bart, Ken Blackman, out of Illinois.
Well, they like his toughness. Here's a guy that was a walk-on in college. They like his toughness, and I think that he's a very strong guy.
Combined,
they love his toughness.
He lifted a combined lift of 1,455 pounds at Illinois. But this is his very first NFL game. That one complete to Darnay Scott across the 30-yard line, short of the first down. It'll bring up third down. Carlos Jenkins very active. He along with Pfeiffer bringing him down. As you see the clock continuing to roll. The Bengals have 3 of their timeouts left. And they're in the hurry-up offense. A flag comes in. And again, DeMarco Farr says somebody moved on the offensive line.
Ken Blackman.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 66 offense.
2 in a row for Blackman, the rookie.
Ken Blackman is, I don't think he's understanding the cadence in a 2-minute situation. He's done it 2 times now. Looks like he's a little confused. Afterwards, Blake went up to him, explained a few things to him. Joe Walters right next to him, the veteran, going to have to take control here and calm that line down.
3rd and 9. Cincinnati trails by 10, 4.5 minutes left. Blake avoids the rush. Downfield, Tony McGee with a nice catch for the first down. Nice catch by the big tight end.
Big play, 3rd and long. They get the penetration. The strength that Blake has is his ability to move around. He does. He finds Tony McGee.
19-yard gain, ball at the 45. Blake passing again, lofting it to the screen. And Carter can't even get to midfield. That was a nice open field tackle by Robert Jones.
But a screenplay like this, you can't lob the ball. They telegraphed that this is going to be a screenplay. He lobbed it to him. Again, 3rd time.
Dave Shula may go nuts if this is another
Prior
offense.
to the snap, 66 false start on the offense.
Well, he's got the hat
5-yard
trick.
penalty. Repeat second down.
It was as though Howard Rowe goes, uh-oh, I got to say this again. Prior to the start of the snap.
Worse than that, Ken Blackman has to hear it again.
Well, it's a problem when you have to start a rookie. You get in these real tight situations here. All DeMarco does is move a little bit, but he doesn't get into the neutral zone. Ken Blackman moves and reacts to it. Gets called again.
Get the feeling that DeMarco Farr is playing around with Blackman, trying to draw him off sides. They get this play off. That one's deflected at the line of scrimmage. 3rd down and long. And DeMarco Farr got a piece of that one.
Well, these guys up front, Jimmy Jones, DeMarco Farr, know that they have young guys. They know that in this situation, when it's tight, you're in a 2-minute situation, they're going to play with them. They're going to try to do things to throw them off their game, move around a little bit, stem a little bit, and obviously it's effective, evidenced by the 3 calls against Ken Blackman.
Look at the yards penalized for Cincinnati. 14 for 81. Big play here, 3rd and 12. They trail by 10. And they get the big play, Carl Pickens for the first down to the Ram 40. So every time it looks like the Bengals are going to self-destruct, they get a big play. First McGee and now Pickens.
Well, when we were talking, they said, Todd Light told us that they wanted to funnel everybody in. Well, he did that, but, you know, Blake has such a good arm and Pickens such a good receiver that they'll pick up those 12 yards.
Incomplete.
Now, it looked like that should have been a fumble, but it wasn't because it was a forward lateral.
Carl Pickens has quietly racked up 6 catches for 93 yards on the day.
Blake feels a little pressure. Jimmy Jones is going to grab him. He pitches the ball forward, which is the same as a pass. If it hits the ground, it's incomplete, as it did in that case.
2nd down and 10. 3:10 left. Blake feels the pressure, and down he goes at the 48. Jimmy Jones
got that
sack.
First sack he's got.
That's right.
He started last year every game. He got no sacks. He had his career in tackles, but he had no sacks at all. They do a good job of collapsing the pocket. They can't go outside because of the 2 quick guys in Carter and O'Neal. And Marco Farr and Jimmy Jones collapses the pocket, and there's nowhere for Jeff Blake to go. Sets up a 3rd and long. In one of these cases, it's you make the call.
Incomplete. 4th down and long. Todd Light with the coverage on Scott.
You're in a situation now that's 4th down. You've got to go for it at this juncture of the game.
Absolutely.
It was a good throw by Blake. He just wanted to pick up a few of the yards and then come back up knowing that he had a 4th down to pick up the rest of them.
Cincinnati had so many heartbreaking losses last year. 5 of their 9 losses were by 3 points. There'll be nothing heartbroken about this loss.
Not as far as the closeness of it goes in points.
Because they've done it themselves, but Blake going downfield, that was incomplete. Scott, the intended receiver, and a flag is in the backfield at the 45-yard line, so it may not be over just yet for the Bengals.
Darnay Scott took his eyes off the ball on that one.
And that'll be declined.
Holding on number 61 offense. Penalties declined. Ball turns over, 1st down.
And the Rams take over on downs with 2.5 minutes left. So what ended in a Pro Bowl season last year for Jeff Blake has been just a terrible way to open up the 96 season.
Now, you always talk about turnovers and what they play, the significance they play in a game. We see here that turnovers is going to be the difference in this game.
And the Rams will just run time off the clock, keep it on the ground. Lawrence Phillips gets to midfield. The Bengals have all 3 of their timeouts left. And they just took one of them right there, so 2 left for Cincinnati, which had the 9-7 lead at halftime. They took a 16-7 lead when Darnay Scott hauled in a touchdown pass from Blake. But then the turnovers and the ensuing field goals by Lohmiller began, 4 of them, and then Keith Lyle had a 58-yard interception return, which resulted in another Lohmiller field goal. A done fumble by the Bengals turned into a Lawrence Phillips touchdown, and there is the running back comparison between the 2 highly touted running backs.
Well, neither of these performances are going to get these guys into the Pro Bowl. Carter's got a 1-yard average, and got Lawrence Phillips with just a little over a 2-yard average. Well, they're going to have to improve on that as the year goes by.
Phillips with the 2 touchdowns. That is the first 2 touchdown performance by a Rams running back since Eric Dickerson back in '83. A rookie running back. But he has just had 2 1-yard touchdown plunges as another flag comes in.
You would think as the game goes on that the players are going to get into sync, and you're not going to have these offsides and these motion penalties that we've seen. I'm sure there's a record somewhere. I don't know what it is, but we might be fast approaching how many 5-yard penalties you can have in a game.
Offsides, number 51 on the defense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
Gerald Dixon called for that one.
I mean, you almost get in a situation where the umpires and the referees are going to go, well, maybe I'm not going to call that one. I've called too many today as it is.
How disappointing does this have to be for Dave Shula, though? I mean, his team made so many great positive strides last year. They eliminated a lot of the penalties and that had come out in the first game in '96, and look at that tally.
That is very disappointing for David Shula. He was very optimistic when he spoke to us, saying he thought that this team was on the verge of doing some real good things. The best group he had had in 5 years.
And that was a big play by Lawrence Phillips because he picks up the first down. And the Rams are given a new set of downs. And another timeout taken by Dave Shula in Cincinnati. They trail by 10, 2:10 left. The 7-9 season was on the heels of back-to-back 3-13 seasons, as Dave Shula came into this ball game with an 18-46 record, now in his 5th year. He mentioned how important this 5th season is for him, finally with the players he feels that could make a playoff run.
Now you just see the way he's pacing there, that he's frustrated, he's disappointed, he's embarrassed. He's embarrassed. His team has come out and made this many mistakes. The turnovers and the penalties, a sign of an undisciplined team. And knowing his father, watching his father over the years, you know that a Shula team is one that takes pride in being disciplined and exact in the way they play their game.
Well,
this Cincinnati Bengals team has not been.
As you saw, his dad's old team, the Dolphins, next on our NFL and NBC doubleheader as the Patriots travel to Miami. And we approach the 2-minute warning. In St. Louis as Derek Harris picks up his first carry of the game. Harris, the 6th-round pick out of Miami. But it appears to be in hand for the Rams, a 10-point lead with 2 left. Jeff Blake and the Bengals on the short end of the 26-16 score, and so much, Bart, for the high-powered offenses we talked about at the beginning of this game. Blake and Pickens, and then the 2 running backs, Kajana Carter and Lawrence Phillips. Isaac Bruce, who had the unbelievable season last year for the Rams, has just 4 catches on 40 yards, as you see Phillips fumble a football, but after he was down. And then Pickens has 91 yards receptions and receiving, but
little consolation when you lose the game.
None at all.
Carl told us as we talked to him that he would trade in the Pro Bowls and the successes for wins and victories and a shot at the playoffs.
You're right. He said the next step is the playoffs, and to a man, everybody on this Cincinnati Bengals team expects to be in the playoffs. And looking at the personnel, wouldn't you agree?
They have the potential. I mean, you see on both sides of the ball, there's a lot of what you would call the untapped potential. And anytime you make the mistakes, anytime you have those turnovers, anytime you have that many penalties, it's almost impossible to overcome those type of self-imposed difficulties.
Hard to imagine that this is the same team that took apart a Pittsburgh Steelers team last year that made it to the Super Bowl. As Phillips gets another carry, and the clock winding down with 1:45 left, and the Bengals powerless to stop it. And a look at the Rams' upcoming schedule. At San Francisco next week, and then they'll get a bye, and that'll be a big game, a big test for the Rams to see how good they were, because they didn't get a big test today from the Bengals.
Well, as we talked to Toby Wright, the strong safety, we mentioned, says, do you know who you have next?
You mentioned San Francisco.
Well, okay, I mentioned it. His comment was, it's only everything.
Yeah.
They're fixated. They spent tremendous amount of time this camp in the last 4 weeks in being able to beat the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, the Rams now take a timeout as we take a look at the Cincinnati upcoming schedule. At San Diego next week, New Orleans the following week. The Saints will be their home opener at Riverfront, and then they will get the bye. The Rams had a great start last year, 4-0 in September, and at one point were 5-1 before the big slide began. And talking with them as a team, they were pretty much powerless to stop it. Once that reverse got in gear, they couldn't put the brakes on it.
They're going to win this game, but there are a lot of things that Coach Brooks is going to look at and say, we've got to do a heck of a lot better, or we're not going to be competitive in this league.
it up. Corey Sawyer lets it roll. And a flag comes in as the Rams down it at about the 1-yard line. And another flag comes in. You have to feel that some things are being said well after the whistle was blown.
Chris Schelling comes in there. There's little to lose in that situation. You're going to go after the block, and if you're too aggressive and you get the penalty, they get the ball back. At this point, they're trying to make something happen. Looks like Sean's okay. Sean's been around for a long time. You know, these punters, they're not used to getting hit. They don't like it when they have to take a shot. I mean, but it does kind of make them feel like they're more part of the game, you know. And they can go in at halftime or after the game and say, you know, I got a bruise too, you know. My hips a little sore.
We've got 2 fouls on a defense. We got unsportsmanlike contact. Number 23, that penalty's declined. We got personal foul, roughing the kicker on number 30, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Chris Schelling comes in. They teach you don't leave your feet, stay under control, and take the ball off the punter's foot. Chris loses control coming straight at the punter. If he misses it, he's going to hit the punter. Here he hits Sean. Now Sean, he's limping around. He's okay, I'm one of you guys now.
You not only played 9 years with Landeta, you played your first 3 years in professional football for the USFL Stars with that man right there, Sean Landeta.
I spent 12 years with Sean. He's a terrific punter. But kickers are kickers.
You guys won the championship 2 of your 3 years there with the Stars, didn't you?
We won 2 championships.
2 more rings with the Giants, and you win another ring with the 49ers. Were you in the right place at the right time?
No, I think it was because of me, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Come
The
on,
center.
give me a little credit here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the center has that huge of an impact in professional football.
That huge of an ego.
All right. Under a minute left. And now the Rams get into the down situation, and Cincinnati without a timeouts.
This is the offense's favorite formation. They absolutely love to get, we used to call that 6 tight diamond, kill the clock. And that was our favorite formation. But we never got to run it when I was in New York, but we always liked to practice it.
Sean Landeta and Rich Brooks having a laugh on the sidelines.
Coach Brooks is checking on his newfound player. Okay, you're tough. You take those shots.
Well, I can't imagine. I mean, the win is the win, and they're 1-0 as they head to San Francisco, but I'm sure that Brooks will have some definite thoughts in the game preparation this week as they get ready to go to San Francisco.
Well, he's the type of guy that's never satisfied. He's always critical. And in this game, the penalties, there were turnovers, the running game was anemic, the pass completion was poor, a lot of areas that they have to work on.
Dave Shula will have some thoughts as well for his team in this practice week. The St. Louis Rams go to 1-0 with a 26-16 win over the Cincinnati Bengals. The Patriots and Dolphins coming up. For Bart Oates, I'm Dan Hicks. So long from St. Louis.